The tale kicks off inside the Ringdoram kingdom. Right in the beating heart of Astrian's capital, a guard clocks something approaching, and panic instantly detonates in his chest. He blasts out a terrifying scream, yelling that the Demon Lord's army is attacking. A nearby soldier bolts into the chaos, screaming that a force led by one of the Demon Lord's generals is coming, then orders his squad to intercept them right now. As the soldiers charge toward the front lines, a woman stays behind and begs God to guard their souls. On the battlefield, a young swordsman is still bent over, gasping for breath, and you can feel the brutal weight of the fight pressing down on him. He stares down at the corpse at his feet and realizes, with a jolt, that he's only been scraping the bottom, fighting the lesser demons of the lower class. Even so, he admits it's brutally hard, and he can't spot a single real opening or crack in their defense. A nearby fighter nods and says, "Yeah, this is the exact kind of raw power you'd expect from an army that's got a general steering it." Then this blonde dude whips around with a huge grin, like the chaos in front of him is totally fine. The whole vibe flips in an instant when the soldiers clock the truth. They're not alone because they have the legendary crew everyone's been begging for. People start screaming that they're finally here. Leading the charge is Hero 11, and he looks totally unshaken while the monster army bears down. He can't help but chuckle. How wild is it that a demon general would dare raid this city while a hero like him is standing right here? Garius catches the look on his face and blurts out that Levin isn't just fighting, he's grinning, genuinely happy about it. But Sage Knoll won't play around. She grabs Garius' attention and tells him to take this seriously, or he'll wind up dead. Garius just throws it off with a laugh, admits it's his fault, and Pal can only sigh as he watches everyone act way too casual. The youngest one in the crew tightens his fist and insists everything's gonna be okay. With their wishes blazing, they roared that the 5 of them, together, could crush every enemy out there. That 18-year-old merchant bursts with energy, telling the pros they must protect every single person in town. Garius bursts into laughter and gives Wish a rough smack, teasing him like he sounds heroic, even though the kid's actually pretty weak. Knoll's not joking around. She flat out says she doesn't care what happens to Wish, but Garius better stop treating everything like it's no big deal. Garius is left standing there, totally baffled, while Wish can't stop wondering why they're being cut out of the conversation. Hal steps forward and snaps everyone's attention, shouting that the enemy commander they're up against is Lilium of the Abyssal Silver Ice. And yeah, she's a monster. Word is, she's sitting on more power than almost any general in the Demon Lord's army. He had an insane ocean of mana, and ice magic so legendary most people only ever dream about it in stories. People say she's basically a legend, and whispers hit that she's the strongest fighter in the entire demon invasion force. Garius doesn't flinch, he just jabs his palm and declares he'd love to fight her, and that only cranks Wish's nerves up even higher. Wish jumps in to do his part by flexing his gear. He's loaded up with every healing potion and key item they'll need, packed tight and ready to go. Bellowing at the top of his lungs, he demanded the pros get out of the way and let him handle all the support work. Wish is forcing a smile, swearing the mission's win means saving a whole load of people. Then Garius cuts him off and snaps, "Don't." Levin steps in and makes it crystal clear. His only job is to scoop up the loot those monsters drop and nothing else stands in his way. Levin quips that even a slowpoke like him can at least manage that much, and Wish can only manage a shaky nod back. As they head out, Wish glances back at the heroes and snaps to the truth. That guy is seriously on edge. But Levin just barks orders for everyone to move and Knoll nods like, "Yeah, that pressure screams a fight this huge," while Wish steadies himself and insists he won't be anyone's burden. The party charges straight into the chaos, and one demon gets absolutely obliterated in an instant. Leaving Garius bored out of his mind, he sharpens his blade and grumbles that all they've faced since day one is weak, low-level trash. He demands to know where Lilium, the big boss, is hiding. Yet Knoll's smile starts to crack and worry creeps into her eyes. She raises her staff and tells the group she can't find Lilium's monosignature anywhere nearby. Levin freezes in shock, blurting, "Can something like that even happen?" While the whole crew just stands there, tense and ready to explode into a fight. Lilium clenches her jaw, stares at the mark on her hand and talks herself down. "Everything's fine, everything's fine." With her demon soldiers standing at attention, they make it crystal clear. this crew is officially part of her personal army. Out near the camp by the rocky hills, someone suddenly starts asking, "Wait, where are we even?" The demon troops just shuffle supplies around camp, loading and unloading tents like it's the only thing they'll ever do. Lilium just sits there, gnawing her nails to the bone, and admits she has zero clue whether they're winning or getting stomped. Because for a top-tier Demon King executive, things are suddenly turning brutally ugly. She clocks a wolfman demon hauling gear and immediately snaps, "Stop right there." He's totally baffled, but she snaps in and demands, right away, what the battlefield situation looks like, desperately pleading for him to swear they're really winning this fight. After he drops the news on her, her whole body lights up, she gasps, then screams, "We finally get the upper hand." Lilium snaps into maniac laughter, bragging that humans aren't a big deal at all, and it's only because she's the one calling the shots. Then she flips her tone and tells the demon soldier that this whole victory is only happening because of his hard work. Lilium locks eyes with him and tells him she expects even bigger things from him starting now. Yet inside, everything feels like it's about to split open. She's barely holding it together with pure relief, because if she'd failed, those other high-ranking demons would have roasted her nonstop. She knows those guys are always hunting for any excuse to crush her, and just the thought of them sends a chill down her spine. She pouts hard because she knows demon society runs on pure merit, yet she totally gets why those big-shot nobles strut around like they own the whole place. And yet, she's not about to let them sneer at her just because she's a commoner, even the thought of losing makes her tremble, because she can't stop picturing the brutal treatment waiting for her the moment she gets back home and fails. Lilium sparks with pure fire, screaming that she's winning this battle, because losing isn't even an option for her. But she's so tangled in her own thoughts that the wolf demon has to stop her and ask why she's still just standing there. Lilium listens as the wolf demon lays out the whole mess, and she just keeps nodding like she totally understands, but then she completely snaps. She demands to know if the hero's really here right now, and panic rips straight through her. On the field, Levin and his entire squad ring in tight, boxing out one tiny, pathetic demon like it's already trapped. Lilium stands on the cliff, eyes locked on the scene, and she can't believe it. An entire top-tier party is swarming a low-level mob like that's normal. She breaks into laughter as the wolf demon practically roasts the hero for being a total letdown. She keeps going, spots someone hanging back from the group, and instantly wonders, am I meant to be their companion? While Wish just stands there, staring at the loot, grinning like they've hit the jackpot. This stash is going for big money. Suddenly, a stranger starts screaming at a girl to move her feet, calling her trash and barking for her to hurry up. A terrified young girl strains to haul a giant barrel packed with heavy swords, trembling as she blurts out an apology to a cruel soldier, who storms off in a rage while she trips and scrambles after him, and Wish just watches the whole scene with dread twisting in her gut. Wish stands there watching the whole scene unfold, and then she blurts out that they're doing the worst kind of terrible things. Right when a demon finally gets cornered and ripped apart in a vicious clash mid-battle. Wish is dripping with sweat, staring down the truth. This is just a lesser demon, and he's shocked that some low-tier mob is this brutal. Yet that nearby soldier just keeps charging in and swinging nonstop, screaming at the monster as he fights to keep the line from breaking. Wish glances back at the girl sprawled on the ground and snaps that she has to hurry, then rushes on, but she's gripping her back, her face twisted in pain, and she gasps that she can't even get up. His eyes fly wide as the truth hits. This is getting way worse, and he knows that just gripping the demon's back won't be enough to save a single soul. Staring down the demon, he steels himself and decides, right this second, he's ending them for good. He can't stop thinking, do I even stand a chance against that monster? The one that usually crushes a whole hero's party just to get beat. Wish's locked eyes with the monster, thinking, there's no way someone like a merchant can pull off a win against this. But he forces himself to lock in, keep his mind sharp, and wrestles with the same question, what can he actually do? He launches into a full-on hunt for the beast, scanning for any crack in its defenses he can ruthlessly exploit. And right then, he catches something off, his eyes locking on that strange glow as his mind scrambles to figure out what it is. It's blasting straight off the monster, and he suddenly realizes it doesn't look like magic the way magic usually does. As he stares at that glow, does it really feel weirdly warm on his skin? But the monster surges forward, and he barely scrambles aside at the last second. He realizes that if he hesitates for even a second, death is guaranteed. So Wish snaps and goes full in. He charges in with everything he's got all at once. Blade leveled at that blazing glow. He was going to cut it down and finish this for good. Wish leaped high above the demon, screaming at it to take this. Then he drove his blade down. He slams a massive strike down on it, and the monster gets obliterated in a blinding flash. Everyone in the room is left speechless, and that tiny elf girl can't even wrap her head around what she's witnessing. Even the nearby demons are stunned by what just happened as the soldier snaps his head and stares. Wish crumples to the ground, gulping air as relief hits hard. He actually made it through. He tries to chalk it up to luck, but deep down he's relieved he managed to keep that woman safe. In the crowd, people start whispering fast, "Who's that knife guy, and is he really some famous adventurer?" They roar for him, and before long, a few folks start whispering like, "Wait, is he really the legendary hero?" Garius is snapping at the seams, yelling that Wish just wiped out a demon by himself with one brutal hit. Someone shouts to Levin, but he just freezes in place, staring at the scene with a stone-cold expression. Wish stared into the distance and barked at the group to haul that woman back to town safely. But Hero 11 just glares, huffs, and demands, "Why should I even bother saving someone who's lower class?" Levin storms off, telling Wish to stop panicking and just focus on grabbing the materials before the pay drops. Then Wish lunges to stop him, yelling that someone's social status has zero business deciding who gets saved, only for the hero to ignore him completely. Levin suddenly sees blanks blasting into the sky, and it hits him hard. That's the signal to unleash their secret weapon. So he shoves the Wish away, blurts that they're out of time, and yells that they have to sprint back to the wall right now. She bolts away, the little demon girl sprinting for her life as terror crushes her, because she can feel that massive power bearing down on them. She snaps and starts sobbing, screaming that the hero's party is terrifying, scrambling to bolt out of the area. The girl gasps and screams one last time as the pressure keeps crushing in. And right nearby, soldiers snap out of control, yelling for everyone to duck because something huge is about to fire. The demon porter girl stares up at that massive mechanical barrel, and her eyes go wide like, "No way." He finally clocked it, Volvarn. A brutal chunk of heavy artillery forged by a reincarnator with one mission, hunting down the highest-ranking demons. She knows the exact toll this thing has taken on the demon lord's army over the years. She snaps and screams at the humans, furious that they actually dragged something that dangerous onto the field. There's no way those demons survive a weapon like that, so when she keeps taunting them as idiots for even daring to try, it's basically over. The demon soldiers right there were stunned to the core, because the tide had fully flipped and everything suddenly turned against them. They don't waste a second, everybody bolts into a full retreat, sprinting for their lives as the pullback order screams through the air. One soldier on the wall jabs a finger and screams that Lilium's army is finally breaking and fleeing. Kicks off a massive celebration, and everyone screams at the top of their lungs that the win is finally theirs. While everyone's losing it cheering, Garius just stands there looking dead inside, muttering that, honestly, for a demon lord's army, those guys were way too weak. Levin glares back at the demons shrinking into the distance and wonders if that was really Lilium's army. Then Garius just shrugs, who knows. He slapped Wish on the back, praised him like a champ, and that instantly made Wish burst into laughter. Levin's not buying it at all, he acts annoyed, mutters that it was probably just a fluke and tries to convince himself. After the battle, the crew barrels into town and heads straight for a tavern to stuff their faces and refill their drinks. Right after that, but things turn tense in a flash and Wish stares at him wide-eyed, snapping at Levin, "What did you just say?" Levin just downed a drink and fired back at Wish, asking if he's deaf, then proved he meant every single word. He locks eyes with Wish, tells him he's no longer welcome at the party, and then basically shoves him out the door. Wishes gets totally blindsided and blurts out, "Why is this happening? Where did it come from?" while Garius just sits there, stone cold and playing it cool. Sage Noel suddenly blurts out that they kept him around only to carry their baggage. They packed light so everyone stayed locked in on the real mission. Wish keeps swinging forward, demanding an answer. Why is Levin dragging all of this into the fight right now? Even with the world telling Levin he's not as strong as the others, he refuses to listen. Levin just fires back, asking why Wish thinks he can talk like that, and tells him not to get cocky just. Levin's out here saving the world, so he rushes to help random people, because he doesn't see Wish as some equal to him. He leaves his Wish behind, and with nothing left to say, he stares into the long, silent streets that stretch out ahead of him. Later on, Wish marches through town with all his gear strapped on, then lets out a crushing sigh because he can't believe they really caught him like that, especially after he thought he was doing his part for the team. He just stands there totally lost on what to do with his life now, until a girl suddenly yells his name. She steps up all nerves and asks if he's really the guy named Wish, and he just stands there frozen in confusion, blurting out, "Who are you and what do you want with me?" The girl blurts out a thank you to Wish for helping her earlier, and Wish's eyes go wide, like he can't believe she just did that, and he watches her like, wait, what? She even brings it up and boom, his face turns bright red. He gets painfully shy, insists it was nothing but she won't hear a word of it. She snaps that he's wrong, like she's certain because he's the only one who even tried to help, and she just smiles, telling him she's happy because she's safe. So she takes off, and Wish just stands there in the middle of the street, thoughts starting to spiral the second she's gone. About why he kicked off this journey. He craved the kind of merchant everyone actually loved, and he can still remember the day it all began back when he was just a kid. He swore to himself that he'd become a legendary merchant, just like his grandpa. He clamps his bag in a death grip, refusing to let go, because the person he's chasing never quits. After getting kicked out of the hero's group, he doesn't fold, he sparks a brand new plan. Wish looks deadly serious as he tells himself, stick to your beliefs, no excuses, and keeps pushing forward. He starts picturing people from every corner of the world, imagining how he could change their lives for the better, and he's practically bursting with hype, pumps his fist, yelling that it's finally time to knock out some real merchant work. Staring down over the town's rooftops, he finally locked in his decision. Now it's time to get every last thing ready for the trip. So he strides through the streets, already mapping out a base, thinking maybe Lovik's the perfect spot, and then the big question hits. What on earth is he gonna need to set it all up? To kick things off, he flashes a huge grin and tells the whole world, just wait, you'll see. As he strides into the city, he grits his teeth and vows to himself that he'll become a great merchant, no matter what the world throws at him, and turn the whole world brighter through his trade. But while he's busy feeling fired up, someone's sprinting nearby, and she's so fed up that she huffs a huge, loud Sayazen. A furious elf girl snaps and screams that she almost died from what just happened. Back inside the Demon Lord's castle, Lilium is having an all-out meltdown, screaming that it's unfair she's the one stuck leading the invasion against a human town. As she begins smashing the stone pillar with her fists, she fires off a complaint. She only knows domestic chores and has zero experience fighting humans. While she keeps pounding the stone, she rants that it was the biggest blunder ever to make her a commander in the first place. She's spiraling into pure frustration, then screams one last time and slams her fist into the pillar. But she smashes it way too hard and immediately starts losing it, tears and screams spilling out as pain rips through her because she just wrecked her hand on the stone. She's bouncing on her feet and gripping her hand when a voice from behind sneers, asking if she's practicing some brand new dance. Which makes Lilium freeze. Then a hooded guy pops in, laughs in her face, and tells her she's back from her mission way sooner than he ever expected. Lilium is shaking with terror. She spots the man instantly. Dwaynel, the ruthless supreme commander of the Demon Lord's entire army. He shoots her a smug little look and basically shrugs, saying the whole mess can't really be helped. Then he bursts into laughter at her, smirking that toppling a fortress city is way too much for someone like her to pull off. Dwayne just lets out a heavy sigh, shakes his head at Lilium, and snaps that it's pathetic for someone as high-level in ice magic as her to be acting like this. He keeps needling her, mocking how she's still got the same short fuse she's always had, and he doesn't stop there. He keeps going, line after line, all the way into the next beat. And then Lilium finally snaps back, sweat pouring down her face as she looks completely wrecked, demanding to know why they dragged her onto this invasion mission when she's clearly not built for it. Dwayne just shrugs it off, tells her he gets exactly what she's dealing with. But he leans in and reminds her, out in the demon world, strength is the only currency that counts when all is said and done. Then he hits Lilium with a total bombshell, revealing the invasion was never real at all, just a test meant for her, leaving her utterly blindsided. She panics instantly, firing off, "So you're really planning to demote me again back down to that lower rank?" So Dwayne tells her it's not that simple. He grimaces and says, "Yeah, it's unfortunate, but the truth is way uglier than a simple demotion." With a smug grin locked on his face, he tells her to her face, clear as day, she's got no spot left in the Demon Lord's army. Lilium just slumps there, defeated, while he snaps that she should have figured out what comes next given how badly she botched his test. Wishes rode down the road, soaking up the moment, then just vibed, admiring that blazing blue sky and the crisp, fresh air like it was the best thing ever. He's grinning from ear to ear, convinced his journey has been gliding perfectly so far yet. But that rush fades fast. Then his mind snaps back to the moment he left town for the merchant city, and he realizes he's ended up deep in ancient ruins, staring at piles of shattered stone and asking, why is all this wreckage here? He pushes deeper through the wreckage, heading for a towering stone tower, and can't shake the question, was a ruined castle even meant to be here in the first place? Suddenly he hears someone nearby sniffling and crying, and his stomach drops. Maybe he's not just a little lost, he's completely gone. He glances over and spots a girl perched on a rock, shoulders slumped, hands over her face, just crying her heart out. Wish rushes over to check on her, firing off, "You okay? And did you get lost too?" But then Wish suddenly stops. Lilium stares up at him, tears pooling in her eyes, and her Wish finally clocks those sharp ears sticking out. He snaps out of it, jumps back, yanks his sword free, and screams that he's found a demon. Wish snaps his finger and yells that she's the hero's companion, but the elf girl just stares back, stunned to see him. She erupts into a full-blown scream for help, and Wish just stands there, utterly dumbfounded. He fires off a question, what in the world is someone from the Demon Lord's army doing out here? And when he clocks how way weaker she looks than he expected, his words catch in his throat like, William keeps breaking down in sobs, begging him to believe she chose the same fate, while Wish just freezes, staring like he has zero idea what she's talking about. She finally explodes, screaming that she got fired from the Demon Lord's army, and leaves Wish totally stunned, wordless. Her sobs rip through the broken stone ruins as Wish just stands over her, staring like he's waiting for the next blow to land. He's still trying to process the news, double-checking if he heard her right, while she keeps wailing on the ground. He blurts it out again like, wait, did you really get fired from the Demon King's army? Because that whole story sounds way too insane to be true. It hits him like a punch that this demon is just casually posted up in human territory, like it owns the place. And he can't stop thinking, seeing a demon here already feels wild, but finding one that got fired, that's a whole new level. Lilium's still in full meltdown. She's crying so loud that even Wish can't make out a single word of what she's trying to say. He pauses for a beat and it hits him. This whole situation feels wrong in a way he can't ignore. Wish remembers hearing that if a demon can actually talk, it's almost always some high-ranking monster packed with insane power. And he flashes back to those terrifying upper-class demons. He's heard stories about monsters so much more dangerous than any low-level trash. And even their magic feels unlike anything he's ever seen, so it makes him stare back like the past is calling him. He heard the girl wailing in front of him and couldn't shake the question, was she truly a top-tier threat, or just a total baby acting that way? Lilium keeps breaking down, sobbing about how hard she's fighting and how life won't stop punching her, while Wish just stands there, awkward as hell, frozen on the spot. He figures he's got this under control and starts putting his sword away. Then Lilium shrieks and leaps back in pure terror. Wish shoots her a sharp look and demands to know why she's here, and what her real game even is. Lilium finally steadies her breathing, looks up at him and blurts out, how do you even know who I am? Lilium keeps sobbing into her cloth, telling everyone she recognizes that Wish from the battlefield, because she used to be a commander in the Demon Lord's army. Wish stares at her like she's gone insane, demanding whether someone as pathetic as her was really meant to sit in a commander's seat. Lilium wipes away her tears in an instant, grinning wide at him, and blurts out that he finally gets it. She starts flexing like crazy, bragging that she's a top-tier exec, Lilium of the Abyssal Silver Ice, and even offers to let him call her Lady Lilium as a special treat. Wish looms over her with a deadpan stare, flat-out telling her that if she's going to lie to his face, she'd better sell it like it's real. He starts laying into her, insisting the real Lilium is that legendary ice mage, stacked with enough power to break the world. He says that if she really were that person, her magic would be so insane by now that everything around them would have frozen solid. Wish stares her down and back up, stunned. There's not a single drop of magic radiating off her. So he lays it out to her, straight up says she's just low-level small fry, then Lilium gets absolutely wrecked, flies backward from the impact, leaving her sulking on the ground, clawing at the dirt, and firing off complaints about how mean he's being. Lilium slumps in the dirt, completely crushed, mumbling to herself like, "I'm just a lousy demon, that's all I am," as the defeat just sticks to her skin. And that's when Wish starts to panic. He's wondering if he finally crossed the line with those insults, even while knowing he has no business talking. Lilium tilts her gaze downward, face set in stone, and then drops the bomb. She used to be a total big shot in the demon realm. She explains how everyone treated her like a once-in-a-lifetime rookie and loaded crushing expectations onto her shoulders. So she busted her tail to keep the demon lord's army standing, practically doing everything by herself, even when it felt like nobody else would step in. She starts visibly boiling with frustration, replaying how she gave it her all, and still, it wasn't enough. She still got fired straight up, because she couldn't back up her words in a real fight. Lilium snaps completely and starts screaming at that miserable old geezer who tossed her out. But then she stops dead and blurts out, "No, hold up, that's not even the part that's wrecking me the most." She clenches her fist and snaps at him that the truly infuriating chaos didn't begin until the moment she lost her job. Dwayne just stares at her, smugly saying she already knows exactly how the rest of this story is gonna play out. He slams the hammer down and declares to Lilium that her army days are over. Then she just freezes there, completely stunned. Right then, out of nowhere, a random demon girl in the back erupts into hysterical laughter at Lilium getting booted. Lilium snaps her gaze to the stranger and asks, "Who are you? What am I even supposed to be?" The girl flashes a massive wink, pops a peace sign, and bubbles with energy as she introduces herself. She flashes a name, Lummy, and the shocking truth hits. She's the very one who stole Lilium's spot as executive. Dwayne turns to leave and tells the higher-ups, "Lummy's the real deal, trust her with everything now." Lummy storms off too, hurling one final jab over her shoulder, calling her old senpai seriously lame. Lilium finally snaps and blasts her rage at full volume, screaming from the top of her lungs about how furious she is. Wish soaks in every word and sighs like, "Yeah, it sounds like getting stuck with the demons would be a brutal life." Lilium snaps at Wish, telling him she doesn't want his pity at all. She just stays on the ground, glaring like she's sick of everything. Wish drops onto some rubble nearby, then leans in and spills the truth. He's got his own story and he's ready to tell it. He glances down and lets it slip. Up until just now, he was secretly part of the hero's own party. "I'd give anything to rewind to the day it all shattered, right back when it happened in that massive clash with the Demon King's army." He says he couldn't stand there and let a helpless woman get attacked, but the moment he stepped in to help, it threw the hero the wrong way. So they finally kicked him out of the group for it, and now he's stuck back as a regular merchant, just trying to survive day to day. Wish blurts out an apology for the boring story, saying he only wrote it because he could feel what she's feeling, while Lilium just stays frozen in silence. Lilium stares at him with tears spilling over, whispering that he went through it too, and that hits Wish so hard he's left totally baffled. Suddenly, she snaps and bursts into tears, insisting that he must have endured so much brutal pain. Wish just freezes there, eyes wide in pure shock, totally lost on what to do now that she's suddenly feeling bad for him. Wish is totally caught off guard by her sudden breakdown and she blurts, "What the heck is wrong, why now?" Lilium keeps breaking down in tears, swearing she can't stop, because it hits her at last just how brutal it must have been for him, and the crying won't let up. Wish tries to tell her she doesn't have to cry for him, but she won't stop, she keeps going, swearing she knows exactly what it feels like to be thrown away. Lilium shoots to her feet with this huge dramatic grin, saying she finally understands it, while Wish scrambles to make her wait, but she starts wailing even louder like Wish is screaming, "Just listen to me for 1 second." Yet she's already completely lost in her own emotions. Finally, she stops dead, squares up over him with a fierce stare, and declares the big decision she's already made, while he just sits there, totally stunned and clueless. She locks eyes with him and tells him flat out she's not staying, she's coming with him on this journey. Lilium sprints up and blurts, "What's your name?" And he answers, "Wish." But the whole moment still has him completely rattled and weirded out. Wish shoots his hand up, tells her to hold on, and insists that's not what he meant at all. Then he blurts out, "So why are you suddenly coming with me?" Lilium just freezes on him, staring blankly as she asks, "So where's our first stop?" Lilium keeps yelling at him to just hear her out for a second, but Wish is worn out and snaps back that it's just a merchant city anyway. She asks if he means Lovitch, then whips her finger the other way and snaps, "No, it's in the exact opposite direction." Wish stares like, how does she actually know where everything is? Lilium starts flexing hard, bragging that back in the day she handled internal affairs for the Demon King. So yeah, she claims she knows every town and every country around here. She snaps, calling him a dummy merchant, then boldly declares she'll be his guide, pride all over her face, while Wish even admits that it'd help a ton, but somehow he still can't wrap his head around why she's so stubborn about coming with him. Like, why does it matter that much? Lilium snaps her gaze aside and spits out that it's maddening, both of them busted their tails for nothing, just to get fired like they didn't matter. She says, "That's exactly why I'm signing up, because we're going out there and showing the world what we're made of." Lilium's eyes harden with pure determination as she declares they'll prove they can make it on their own, too. Wish lets out a heavy sigh and stares at the ground, feeling like this whole plan is wildly reckless, but he cracks a small smile, admits she's right, and finally realizes she's been through hell, exactly like him. Wish grips his sword and decides that if they're going to do this, they need a real plan, starting with the two of them officially locking in as a temporary travel crew. Lilium is practically buzzing to leave, ready as a weird feeling hits them like, this isn't the end, this is where the real story kicks off. They kick off their journey with real confidence, stepping ahead with easy, light steps while the narrator finally lets loose. They're sprinting straight toward the merchant city now. But peace doesn't last. Right behind Lilium, a giant bear suddenly crashes into the scene. A gigantic monster towers over them right in the middle of the path, looming so deadly it feels like the air is freezing. Wish and Lilium snap, then they both erupt into terrified screams as a giant bear tears out of nowhere. The Wish panics, screams that this is bad and can't wrap his head around it. Monsters are already crawling out in a place like this. So he yells that they've got one shot, scramble out of there at top speed. Wish yanks Lilium by the hair, forcing her to stop in her tracks, then shouts at her to wait up, while Lilium lets out a strangled gasp, snaps her eyes on him, and demands to know if he's really trying to kill her. She flips into a full-blown tantrum, but Wish cuts her off fast, telling her he almost died before she did. Lilium shrieks that the monster is straight-up trouble, then breaks it down. It's a natural enemy to any adventurer who dares show up. Lilium keeps losing it in the background, and Wish hears a noise, then whips her head around. Right as the massive bear-like monster rips out a deafening roar and hammers the ground into rubble. Wish rockets into a sprint, screaming like, "What is that thing?" While panic hits, does it really match that tiny little? William's right beside him, screaming that they're in real trouble like right this second. She tells him the monster's name is Gordon, and it's the kind of beast that hunts, kills, and leaves death behind for everyone. So they keep scrambling through the woods while Lilian begs is desperate to do something, only for him to shoot her down and say she's chasing the impossible. Wish's eyes go wide with pure shock when he finally clocks just how brutal their situation is getting. He grabs Lilium's attention and tells her they can't keep sprinting like this, or they'll both end up dead. Wish shouts that they need a brand new plan, right now, but Lilium can't even guess what's going through his head, so he lays it on her. They have to take a massive gamble, and the moment he says it, she spirals into full-on panic. Lilium shrieks as Wish blasts them skyward with his load ability. Then, boom, a massive blast rips into the ground and slams the giant monster backward like a punch from the heavens. The moment they touch down, Wish gulps for air and snaps, I think we finally lost them. He's relieved they're all safe, but Lilium's sprawled face down on the ground, utterly dizzy. Wish locks eyes with her and blurts out that he's been thinking non-stop about how she used to be the one everyone cared about. So he asks why can't that ex-demon lord exec just stomp these monsters like they're nothing. Lilium spirals into total panic, muttering that there's no way this is real. Then she realizes she can't even use her magic right now. Wish glares down at him, looking dead sure he's talking nonsense as he questions whether she's truly the legendary ice and snow magic user he's been hearing about. Lilium screams that the real power she had came from ages ago, and right now, she's nothing but a pathetic weakling. She says this whole disaster is the human's fault, and since Wish is a reincarnator, he can't even dare complain. Wish just stands there staring down at her, utterly lost, so he blurts out, "What are you getting at?" Lilium's face hardens and she drops a brutal truth she's gotten this week because of global warming. Wish just blanks out, staring at her as he mulls over the words global warming again and again, like he's trying to crack the excuse and failing. Lilium keeps charging forward, telling them the world's heat has been climbing like crazy lately, and it all blows back on that tech the otherworlders dragged here, because when it lands, Wish is left totally stunned, speechless. She says the heat's scorching the water mana out of the air, and that's exactly why her powers are starting to die. Wish yells, "Wait, hold on," then stops cold on the basics and fires back, "But what is asterisk mana really?" Lilium suddenly clicks, of course he's lost. A merchant wouldn't have a clue about those technical terms. She leans in and starts breaking it down for him, telling him that mana is basically the magic's building blocks were 4 wild elements: water, fire, wind, and earth. She claims that if mages mix these ingredients just right, they can whip up all kinds of spells, ice blasts, lightning strikes, and more. But then she snaps it right back to her real problem. She insists the power of water is fading now thanks to global warming. The heat is wrecking her focus, so she can't stitch her mana together. Now her ice magic keeps crumbling and failing. Wish stares at her and blurts, "Why not switch elements?" And Lilium just lets out this frustrated huff. She blushes hard, swallows her pride, and finally admits ice magic is the only real power she can actually use. Wish starts snapping the pieces into place and can't shake the thought, what if this legendary ice user is nothing more than a... Wish can't believe his ears and blurts out, "Wait, so you really only know ice magic?" Then snaps, "You specialized idiot." Lilium snaps, "Shut up," and demands what's wrong with him right as that massive monster's paw crashes down. The ground explodes behind them with a deafening crash, and they both bolt for their lives as a massive, bone-chilling bear monster crashes into the forest and starts smashing everything in sight. Lilium starts spiraling because she's convinced the monsters found her, and that they're about to see just how terrified she really is. Honestly, it's even worse now, because that beast has fully slammed the only exit shut, trapping them in there. Lilium snatches up a pile of rocks, puts on a tough girl act, and dares the monster to come and get her. She blurts out that her ultimate attack will obliterate everything. Then Wish spots the trick behind her real move. She looks down and realizes she's not doing anything special at all. She's just clutching a plain old stone, ready to hurl it at whatever's coming. He knows he can't bank on Lilium's power right now, so he throws caution aside and steps up himself. Wish plants his feet and raises his sword, but he can feel the disaster coming, because he knows, deep down, he can't win this. A head-on brawl with a beast like this, and he scans for any crack in its defenses, even as his mind races with the thought that, if there's a crack in this, he'll seize it and force his way through this chaos somehow. Then boom, a mysterious voice cuts through the air, speaking straight to him and promising with absolute certainty that he's gonna be okay. Wishes snaps to attention, totally blindsided, then whips his head around, hunting for the source of that voice, only to. But then it hits him, these words aren't just heard, they're echoing straight inside his own head when the voice speaks again, telling him everything's fine, then urging him to go for the light. Wishes snaps back, baffled, and demands what light that voice even means. Then the moment he looks up, he finally sees it. A blinding little dot of light suddenly ignites dead center on the giant bear's chest. She reveals the monster's weak spot and Wishlock snaps onto the target, because this is his one and only shot. Wish freezes in pure shock, staring at the glowing light, because he knows that gut tug feeling and he's terrified it's happening again just like last time. That massive bear just looms there, a glowing light blaring on its chest, then a strange beam of energy blasts straight toward. He spots a clear path, then sees the band of light and realizes it's leading straight to the monster's weak spot. Lilium's right there, trembling with fear and stammering, while Wish blurts out nervous laughter, because he has zero idea how he's even supposed to pull this off. Then he whips his head toward the elf girl and asks if she's seen the light yet. He spots energy curling around his arms and the thought hits him hard. Maybe he's the only one who can truly see it happening. Right in their faces, the bear blasts a deafening roar, but Wish won't back off even as everything looks bleak and wild. While Lilium is losing her mind and screaming at the top of her lungs, Wish clocks his chance, yanks his sword up and lunges forward like a missile. He growls under the crushing weight, admitting, right to his own face, that he has zero clue what this light even is or where it came from, but he follows that road anyway, his mind racing. What kind of future is this power really going to carve for them? While he closes in for the kill, Wish hurls his sword straight into the monster's glowing weak point on its chest, and the hit blasts with pure, earth-shaking force. A massive burst of energy tears through the sky, ripping the air apart and blasting everything nearby backward. The massive bear drops to the earth with one last gut-wrenching groan, completely finished, while Wish steps away like it was never a fight. But the wind batters him, and the second he registers it, his body goes stone-heavy, and he lets out a rough grunt like the lid just dropped. Lilium yells his name to make sure he's okay, and Wish blurts out an apology, saying his power just vanished out of nowhere. He insists he's fine, but a mysterious voice snaps in, his body can't handle that power yet. Wish whips his head around, totally blindsided by the voice, and right then, a young girl suddenly bursts out of nowhere and shouts congratulations for his huge win. Lilium just can't wrap her head around it. There's a kid out here, and Wish turns to the girl like, "So what are you doing in a place like this?" The girl cracks, "I'm Milfina," then starts talking like she's been studying Wish's secret powers all along. Milfina blurts out that she only stepped in because Wish looked totally lost, like he had zero idea what was going on. She tells him he's got a special power, one that only he can have, and Wish just stands there, utterly stunned and lost. Lilium doesn't buy a single word of it. She hisses in a whisper that this kid is acting way too weird. She leans in and demands, "So what's your plan?" Because that girl has been spouting straight-up nonsense ever since she burst in. Lilium keeps pressing the point, telling Wish flat out that this kid is a real threat to them. Wish locks eyes with the girl and blurts out that she's totally suspicious. Then his words get cut off before he can finish. Milfina starts pouting and tells Lilium she's being seriously mean. Then she cuts off mid-sentence like something's about to blow up. Then he drops a bombshell, hitting Lilium with the truth. This attitude is exactly why she got fired from the demon army. Lilium completely snaps, screaming at the girl, while Yish just freezes in total shock. He tries to cool everything down, grilling this random kid for how he knows Lilium's secret history, but Milfina just smirks like she's already won. Milfina tells everyone she's totally okay to explain it. Then she slams the point home, they've got to get out of the forest like right now. Wish gives a quick nod, then looks back at the giant bear and realizes the local wildlife is way too dangerous to ignore. Milfina fires him a cold look and tells him straight up, Gordon isn't strong at all, he's one of the weakest monsters out there, and that's why he ends up leaving. Wish's face went totally blank as she spills the truth. Local creatures turned savage because of a dragon. A deadly miasma got trapped deep in the woods, and that's why worse things than you can imagine keep crawling around nearby. The elf girl panics and blurts out, "Wait, are you talking about the legendary demon dragon?" Wish has no idea what you mean, so she blurts out that it's a monster from ages ago, the kind that can wipe out. With a single breath, he obliterated whole mountain ranges across the demon world. Milfina tosses it out like it's nothing, and the elf girl instantly snaps, straight up losing her mind. As they scramble through the danger, Milfina finally blurts out the name of where they are, Forneum Forest. Milfina points out they're standing exactly where the ancient magic dragon Fornes is sealed, right on top of the lock. And that's when the elf girl snaps completely, bursting into a panic, demanding to know if the legendary terror symbol is really right here. She grabs Wish and hauls her off, screaming that they have to vanish right now. while Milfen shifts the moment to respond. She takes that first step forward and demands they follow her. She pushes through the dense forest and Wish plus the elf girl trail right behind her, like they're neck on neck with fate, and that's when Wish spots something insane and blurts, "Wait, are those real wings on my back?" He's completely frozen, staring at her in disbelief, trying to wrap his head around what he's seeing, while she flashes a soft smile and then casually drops the bombshell that she's actually a goddess named Milfina. She tells them she's here in this world for one reason: stopping the brutal war between humans and demons before it tears everything apart. She ends her reveal by dropping the bombshell: she's the supreme god's youngest daughter, Lepis. That elf girl glares at the wings and the halo, and with everything right there in front of her, there's no denying the proof of what's true. She snaps into a cold sweat and admits she has no choice. She has to accept Milfina as a real goddess. But it still doesn't add up for her. She points out that gods are supposed to loathe demons, so Wish starts to suspect it too, freaking out as he wonders why Milfina won't attack them, especially since she knows exactly what he is. Milfina snaps to attention like a light bulb just hit, then whips her gaze to them as if she suddenly remembered something huge. She yanks Wish's sleeve and blurts out to him, but he just freezes there, clueless, trying to decode what she's asking for. She blurts out that this whole forest is sealed under a giant magical barrier, meant to baffle anyone who dares step into that sea of trees, then lock them inside and leave them trapped there forever. This isn't just any seal, it's high-level and brutal enough to pin a demon dragon in place, and it hits humans just as hard. She locks eyes with him and, like it's nothing, tells him straight up he won't be able to escape this place. The crew pushes deeper into the thick trees, and Wish keeps glancing over her shoulder, worried out loud that things might be a lot worse than they think. Milfina shoots him a confident look and says it's totally fine, because she's a goddess and she'll handle it. And she skips ahead, barking that they'd better keep up and not get left in the dust, while Wish screams at her to wait. Later on, they finally burst onto a clear ridge beneath the stars, and the relief hit so hard it felt like they'd just cheated death. Wish whirls to Milfina and blurts out his thanks, then taps her head with a tiny pat, so light it still makes the elf girl freeze in shock. Milfina just giggles at all the attention, while Wish leans in and tells her she absolutely crushed it for them back there. But then Wish slams on the brakes and demands to know why she was even roaming that dangerous forest in the first place. She grins and tells him she came just to meet him and his friends, then she calls him Big Brother Wish. Then it hits him she wasn't guessing at all. The moment they met, she somehow already knew exactly who they were. Milfina casually drops that she's been watching them from the celestial realm the whole time, and the elf girl just goes totally speechless. Milfina just bursts into laughter and goes, "Come on, of course I know exactly what's happening." She tells Lilium she knows all too well how close the elf and Big Brother's wishes are, and which launches Lilium straight into a full-on panic, and she blurts, stammering, "Close, close," like she can't even finish the word. She's trying to bury her embarrassment, snapping that this truce is only temporary, nothing more. Milfina doesn't buy it for a second. She fires back, asking the elf if he's really sure, like she's not done with him yet, as he whips his head around to Wish and grills him, asking what he really thinks about the whole situation. Wish looks totally thrown off by the question, then blurts out that he sees Lilium as a precious comrade. Lilium crosses her arms, pouts hard, turns her face away, and lets out a little huff like she's fed up. Wish can't stand the awkward silence anymore, so he shoves the moment forward, and as they start walking, Milfina's smile fades. She starts wondering, with real bite, why humans and demons are forced to clash instead of just living side by side. Milfina barrels forward mid-sentence, saying her father was so sure peace was just a lie. He was convinced the only way the world could ever be safe was to wipe out every last demon. But Wish and Lilium freeze mid-step, totally blindsided by her harsh words. Wish blurts her name in shock and Lilium goes still and quiet because, as Milfina whips around with a stone-cold serious face, she tells them she feels the exact same way Wish and his friends do, and then she starts to explain. Her biggest dream was always simple: make their world a home where humans and demons can finally live together in peace, until things took a sharp turn. How things unfolded back home. She remembers standing before her father and the other heavyweight leaders ready to pitch her ideas, but she begged for someone to hear her, but they shut her down, treating her like an annoying nuisance and never even bothering to understand where she was coming from. And somehow, after all that time clinging to those beliefs, they got completely cut off from their own family. Milfina sank into deep, crushing loneliness for ages, just sitting there and spiraling, because she truly believed she had no power to change a single thing by herself. But that's exactly when she finally snaps back to hope. Her eyes blaze as she recalls the second everything shifted, the moment that was the second she caught Wish and Lilium standing side by side. Watching a human and a top-tier demon team up for real was all the proof she'd ever need. Milfuna goes on and on about how blissful her life felt back then, like finding them wasn't luck at all, it was destiny calling her name. And Lilium, along with them, just stood there, stunned to the core as she laid out her hope, convinced that with the two of them together they could finally change the world. She cracks her hands together with pure grit in her eyes, because this trip isn't random, it's the only reason she came all this way. Her whole mission is to grant her brother's wish, and seal it with a special blessing just for him. Wish just stands there, dumbfounded, trying to process what it even means to get a blessing. Lilium lets out a heavy, exhausted sigh, and that sound makes Milfina freeze before she blurts out her name. Lilium shoots back, furious and done with it. If that's all true, then the human gods are basically the absolute worst. And Wish starts freaking out, jab pointing at Lilium while yelling at Milfina that she can't say stuff like that right in front of her. Lilium crosses her arms, puffs up, and pouts like she's done arguing. She says she hates what she hates and nothing's going to change that. She ends by staring them down and asking, "Isn't all of this painfully obvious?" Lilium snaps with rage, screaming that nobody could just toss aside a sweet girl like Milfina, like she's totally not holding back for even a second. He's straight up screaming that Leppy's is the absolute worst. Leppy just shrugs it off and sprints away, and Lilium locks onto his back with a sharp glare, demanding to know what his problem is. He glances back and tells her he knew her reaction would hit exactly the way he expected. Right on cue, Milfa. Alfina stared in shock as Lilium grabbed her attention and said, "If you've got nowhere to go, then come with us." Milfiner is completely stunned, and then Wish winks, gives a thumbs up and basically says, "Yeah, it's sudden, but trust me, I think it's a brilliant idea." He shoots his hand out toward her, silently promising, "Come with us, I'd love to have you on this journey." Milfina's eyes start to shine as she breaks into this massive smile, blurting out thanks, and calling to her brother while introducing her two brand new friends. She clasped her hands tight in a silent prayer made for one specific wish, and it hits so deeply that you can feel how personal it is where she finally tells him to accept the blessing he's been craving all along. While she prays, Milfina's mind races over Wish's real power, the one he's always had, this so-called insight, and it lets him spot the crack in even the toughest opponent. She hit the point instantly. Now she's praying that, with her blessing, he'll finally spot every single detail even as the moment cuts off her sentence. Wish suddenly snaps his eyes toward a strange glow and it clicks, this light is coming from. And from Milfina, she's straight up handing him a legendary buff, Divine Protection. Wish stares at the glow wrapped around his body, stunned, wondering what's happening to him because it feels absolutely amazing. He tells the group he's feeling great, like he could burst out of his skin. He can pretty much do anything right now. Then the elf girl sizes him up head to toe. She starts firing him questions, saying he looks exactly the same, and then she finally admits it after all. "Stop making that dumb face you always do." Wish flashes a smug grin. Wish is feeling himself after that buff and straight up tells Lilium, "I'm testing this new power on you right now," but she's not buying a single word. She just waves him off with a dead-eyed, bored stare like his threats are total noise. Suddenly, she freaks out. Her whole body erupts into a glowing light, and she can't wrap her head around the fact that she's literally shining like a lamp. Wish grins as his insight skill finally hits different, then leans in and tells her the truth, this shining light, it's her weakness. William and Milfina just stare, utterly lost because they have zero clue what he's talking about, while he cracks up laughing like it's the funniest thing ever. He jabs a finger at her, smirks, and claims she's basically a walking weak point. Then Lilium totally snaps and loses her mind. She flips out, smacks him, and screams that it can't possibly be true, while Milfana in the back just sobs uncontrollably. Lilium keeps yelling that he's an idiot, but Wish's laughter suddenly cuts off. He spots something weird nearby and then, leaning over the cliff edge, he spots a cluster of buildings hiding in the valley below. And then he blurts out, "Is that really a village?" Then just freezes there, stunned, while the girls keep pounding on behind his back. Wish glances over the quiet little town, trying to wrap his head around what's really going on, starting to. They pause, and a voice bluntly asks if it's really possible for them to settle down inside one of those houses. Wish slams a respectful "yes, sir" at the wooden table like she's ready to dig in and stay in this village, because she's not letting anyone move her out. They were basically begging him to let them stay longer, like, "If that's not a problem, please just let us stay a while." The guy he's talking to is Mayor Zebman, no panic in sight, he just keeps eating his food and grunts back at him, and Wish watches the mayor like, "Wait, this guy's insanely chill," and suddenly the whole room feels awkward as Wish shoots a glance at Lilium, who's still sitting there looking. He just stares there, totally blank, then it hits him. He's flashing back to how he was freaking out over her demon features before they even arrived. But the wild part is, one simple recovery potion was all it took to make her pointy ears look completely human. He locks eyes with her, stunned that a top-tier demon can blend into the crowd like it's nothing at all. Mayor Zebman wipes his hands clean, shoves the last bite aside, and tells the whole crew, "Please stay a while," and Wish and Milfina freeze, completely caught off guard by that sudden invitation, and the mayor keeps going, dropping a serious catch. This village has some truly bizarre circumstances, so William leans in and listens like every word matters as she repeats it. He shoots his words back like a question, stuck on one thought: what's so weird about this place? The mayor only grunts, then barrels into the history of the land. He tells them 40 years ago, when the big demon invasion hit, a group of people bolted from the capital of Asterion and vowed to start again, so they built F. There are 53 different settlements across the region, right where they're sitting at this very moment included. And out of that brutal struggle, Zakin Village was born, but the kingdom still won't name them an official town. Decades of being shut out by the government and honestly, it feels like the higher-ups are just pinning the blame on the refugees for running in the first place, while the mayor stares down, talking like it's all their fault and how there's this massive sacred forest wedged right between the village and the capital, so huge that most people won't even think about stepping inside it. The village actually swings the odds their way, keeping them hidden and safe from unwanted eyes. Plus, he throws them a solid warning like, "Listen, if they stay put and help that outcast village, the kingdom could brand them as rebels overnight just for backing those people." Mayor Zebman leans in and warns that if their merchants keep hanging around in some sketchy unofficial spot, it'll slam their reputation. And Wish just stares at him, stunned that the mayor's being insanely thoughtful. He fires up the plans for the night and tells everyone to hunker down in a small hut just outside the village for safety. But Wish won't hide in the shadows. She marches straight up to the mayor and makes it crystal clear she'd rather stay right in the village. The mayor's caught off guard by the kid's fearless confidence. Then he blurts out, "Are you really sure you want to get tangled up with them?" Lilium flashes him a calm grin and waves it off like it's nothing at all, and honestly, she looks so relaxed you'd think she didn't even notice the problem. She's already clocked the chief's whole vibe, and honestly, there's more on top of that. She watches the local kids crack up and race around, and she can't help thinking, yeah, this place doesn't look bad at all. The mayor takes one beat to let it sink in, then nods sharply and offers to lead the group straight to their accommodations as they stride into the heart of town, and Wish suddenly spots a crowd of villagers huddled together, whispering like they're hiding something, and it makes his gut twist. Something feels off, and he starts wondering what they're really talking about. Lilium senses the shift instantly and blurts out that the air is turning razor sharp and the tension is about to snap. Out of nowhere, some random guy comes blazing in and starts yelling at the villagers, calling them peasants from way across the way. A hulking brute yanks the local up by his shirt and starts roaring at him to stop acting so untouchable and mighty, while he shouts at them to move faster and hand over every single one of their goods right now. He steps straight into the guy's space and snarls a warning, "Don't even think about trying to hide a thing." He makes it crystal clear, anyone who dares to defy him is getting sentenced to death. The villagers just freeze in dead silence, staring with pure shaking terror. The guy snaps non-stop orders to hand everything over as he starts wrecking the place, and the whole crew jumps out of their skin. Wish gets totally blindsided and snaps, "Who the hell is that guy?" while Lilium just watches, horrified at how ruthless the whole scene looks. Mayor Zebman just stares at the ground and groans like, "Ugh, they're back again." Mayor Zebman leans in and reveals the truth. This isn't some random guy at all. He's an official from the kingdom, working under the Lord. Surprise, he rolls into the village with his men, acting like they're only there to collect taxes. But the mayor snaps back, "This is way worse in real life. Logan isn't some hero at all. He's a cold thief, stealing their food and stripping them of every last valuable thing." Lilium totally loses it and snaps, "What kind of nonsense is this?" screaming that the kingdom hasn't done a thing for these people. She just stands there, face twisted with pure disgust, and snaps that the whole situation is way more than she can take. Logan clicks his tongue as he stomps through the wreck he created, then asks, incredulous, if that's really all the loot they've got. He rips into the place as pathetic, then starts smashing barrels to bits, screaming at the villagers to hand over something way more unique. Lilium sees him wreck the village and snaps. She can't take it anymore, so she screams that he's a total piece of trash. She marches straight at him to teach him a lesson. Then the mayor freaks out and scrambles to stop her. He yanks her clothes and pleads for her to hold on, claiming they're officials, and if she goes in, he can't bear to watch her land in trouble. Logan slams on the brakes and whips his gaze to Milfina. He clocks her instantly. He glares at the girl and snaps, asking what she's been staring at. So Milfina locks eyes with him and coldly asks, "Are you trash?" Logan snaps, swings his sword, then Wish lunges in and snatches him out of trouble at the last second, just as. And he's got one question burning in his chest. What does Logan think he's doing? Logan just rubs his head and snaps, "This is exactly why I can't stand peasants." He glares at his boots and grumbles about the mud splattering up all over them. Then he demands they both die, but Wish locks eyes with him and forces him to apologize. Logan's patience snaps as he glares at the kid's attitude and demands, "Do you really want to fight?" And that's when everything spirals from there, causing the mayor goes into full panic, begging them not to make him sacrifice himself for the village. Milfina freezes in shock as Wish abruptly goes dead silent while the mayor yells at them to run out of there, right now. The girl finally gets it. This isn't just wishful thinking, and it isn't some heroic act or noble sacrifice either. Something bigger is happening, and that's why. Wish isn't wishing at all. He's furious, boiling over the thought of his friends getting hurt, screaming that it's all so unfair, while Logan digs in and stands his ground with. Wish yanks his sword out and jabs it straight at the guy's face, snarling that he won't rest until he sends him flying. Then it all kicks off into a weird glow starts blazing in his eyes and he shrugs, "That's it. That's all there is," right as the energy hits it. Milfina breaks into a massive grin because she knows right now, Wish is about to see every single weakness laid bare in crystal clear detail. Even Wish can tell something's off. He swears he can see the difference now, and suddenly everything turns sharper, brighter, and way more vivid than it ever was before. Milfina watches as his real power finally erupts, and boom, status windows start blasting into the air, revealing the truth. This is Wish's true ability. A massive weakness screams out, an alert flashes dead ahead, and suddenly he can read every single stat Logan has, from his defense straight down to his exact agility, and as all that chaotic data swirls around the confused guards, Wish steps in, stares Logan down, and hurls, "You're trash," right in his face. Wish is totally locked in as he tells the guy, "I'm taking you right now," and you can feel it in the air. Logan won't back off for a second, blasting his own attitude, because the truth is he hates it while he just smirks and asks if the kid really thinks he can stand up to him. One of the guards finally jumps in too, warning that a knife fight is a terrible plan, but Logan snaps at him to shut up and stay out of it. Wish just nods along and admits he's straight up furious at Logan too. He roars at him to come at him, hurling the words, "Logan, you're trash," right to his face. Logan shrugs it off, swears it works for him, and promises to cave him in half to death as a brutal example. And right before he swings, he growls that he's gonna carve a lesson straight into the kid's skin. Logan surges forward, rips into a massive swing, and roars that his wish will never defy him again. Logan throws everything he's got into a brutal overhead strike, and somehow Wish barely manages to pull it off, just barely. Logan clicks his tongue in pure frustration, because the kid actually managed to stop that heavy blade at the last second. With them trapped inside, Wish suddenly realizes he can feel every ounce of Logan's strength and razor-sharp skill. Thanks to Melfina's blessing, he gets that unfair edge. Logan slams the ground, hurling rocks in every direction. He snaps at Wish, shouting if he honestly thinks he can spare a glance right now. Wish doesn't even break a sweat. He laughs it off and says it's totally fine because he can already spot every single thing that's about to happen. Logan bellows as he whips out another monster slash, but Wish just pirouettes through right past the blade and decides the time is up, roaring to Logan that he's coming for him. He rips off a wild midair spin, shooting forward at speeds no ordinary merchant could ever pull off, and which crushes Logan's spirit as panic detonates in him, and he can't stop asking what the hell this kid even is. Logan's head reels because Wish didn't just dodge his brutal swing, he snapped back with a perfect counter. That kid's footwork is flashing too fast, and Logan's mind just can't take the fact that he's getting beat by some brat. He tightens his grip on the sword, but the pressure crushes through him, and he finally realizes he can't hold off what's coming. Every single blow lands, and out in the village, people just stand there, eyes locked, watching the whole fight play out. The crowd's going feral. They can't wrap their heads around how one-sided this is, all while they wonder if this kid is really just a merchant in disguise. Lilium just grins and says this Wish is a total breeze, because he's already been in the hero's party. Mayor Zebman is utterly stunned by the news, so Lilium steps in and breaks down how Adventurer's world really works. They lay out the rankings from D all the way to S, and the hero's squad sits at the very top. She rips apart the chart and points to the tiers, showing that every single person's strength is ranked by those exact levels. She brags that Wish is so busted he can one-shot a demon, even while he's just working as a merchant, and the mayor is left staring in full-on awe. Lilium stares at the crooked fight and bluntly calls out, "Logan looks like he's completely unranked." It's painfully clear to everyone watching, Wish is gonna steamroll this fight and claim the win. Logan starts snapping, yelling, swearing, and insisting there's zero chance he'd ever lose to a kid, but then his expression snaps into something new and he blurts that he's been waiting right here for this exact moment. He says he was just waiting for Wish to hop straight into his attack range so he could strike immediately and he starts pumping himself up, swearing he won't lose to a guy like this right then. Even Milfina glances over and bam, his sword is suddenly blazing, so he screams at the top of his lungs. Logan snaps into a special swordsmanship move, pouring every ounce of strength into a massive flaming barrage, no mercy, all fire. A razor-sharp slash tears through the dirt and somehow pins Wish in the very middle of it. Logan bursts into laughter, bragging that he landed a direct hit, and he even throws out a wish that he finally got what he deserved. Logan blasts his flaming attack with a thunderous boom, and then he rips into a furious scream. In triumph, as the villagers and Mayor Zebman stare while the smoke thins, Logan stands. They're holding their breath for the win. Then his face drains of color the moment he sees something he can't believe it. Through the dust and roaring flames, he's just standing there doing nothing, like the wishes won't save him. Totally fine, Mayor Zebman and Milfine step in to check on the kid while Logan starts losing. His mind spiraled because how in the world does someone survive a straight-up hit like that and still walk away? Just laughs and says, "Man," but Lilium isn't buying it. She's unimpressed, like they only got. Logan totally got lucky because the guy was brand new at this. Logan just stammered, looking like his world is collapsing. Wish thinks back, realizing Logan's status wasn't random at all. He's got some high-tier moves, sure, but it doesn't even scratch the surface of monsters like Hero 11, who can literally obliterate a whole castle with a single hit. Wish just stands there, grinning like it's nothing, completely unfazed as he calls out to Logan. If they're going to keep moving, Logan's shaking out of control, sweats pouring through his skin. He looks at what he's up against and snaps into the truth. There's just no way he can beat someone like this. He slams to his knees in the dirt, choking out that he's lost everything, and the truth is about to hit hard as he finishes the confession. The whole village just erupts. People start screaming, cheering, and celebrating the big moment. Victory, Lilium is flying off the walls because they actually pulled it off, and Wish just cracks up right there, still, but the celebration gets slammed to a stop out of nowhere. One massive tornado tears right through the village. Wish shoved his feet into the wind and yelled, trying to brace himself against the gale as he shouted that the wind is screaming louder and louder. Then he catches a sound that vibrations thunder through his chest, and he can't tell if it's a roar. Lilium snaps her head up and stammers because she's staring at something that absolutely shouldn't be in the sky. A colossal beast with razor-scaled skin and massive wings slams down right in the center of it all. Then the demon dragon rises. Wish stands there, totally stunned, eyes locked on the sky as he finally realizes the thing he's seeing is the legendary dragon Fornies. The whole village detonates into chaos. People shriek about a monster and sprint for their lives. One of the guys keeps pushing Mayor Zebman to move, but the old man just stands his ground and mutters that it's hopeless. Zebman's eyes flare as he realizes it. This is the real guardian from the old legends of the Sea of Trees, and he's basically sure it's all over, like the entire world is seconds away from ending right here. One of the guards snaps, bolts down the hall at full speed, and screams for anyone please, just to save him. But Logan won't let him slip away. He snatches the guy by his clothes and growls that he better not even think about running. Logan is completely spiraling. He starts shoving the guard money into his hands, then begs him, please stay here and protect me, like his life depends on it. Right as the dragon's massive claw slams down, someone yells Logan's name, and the guards get blasted backward, flying through the air. Wish stares at the dragon, panicking that it might be locked onto Logan and the others, and he can feel that scorching heat rising. Logan snatches his sword and bolts off, leaving everyone else in the dust. He muttered a wish under his breath, and the second he realized his urge to help had just dragged him straight into a nightmare. Then he froze because this was only the beginning, but right then, the dragon shoves its massive jaws open in his face. He feels the crushing pressure of those 4 knees bearing down, and it finally hits him. This is what a true brush with death feels like, so he clenches his teeth and finally admits it. This is the legendary symbol of terror everyone keeps whispering about. The elf girl and Milfina burst up to him, screaming his name and demanding to know if he's okay, but Wish shoots them a calm look and tells them, don't sweat me. Then he demands they shift their focus, get those villagers out of there. That elf girl snaps right back, warning him not to be stupid. There's no way he can take that thing down alone. Milfina shoots a warning look at the monster. Fornies is just as strong as a demon lord. Milfina's still freaking out that the monster is strong enough to be a demon lord, but Wish just glances back and says it'll be fine, because he's got her divine protection in his corner, and he's playing it cool even though he has to keep glancing back and demand her confirmation. Milfina just locks eyes with him and stares like he's completely unhinged. Until she fully snaps, she starts clawing at her own head in pure frustration and screams because she knows he'll never back down. So she jabs a finger at him and yells that she's heading off to take care of her piece, then she'll come right back. As she bolts away with the elf girl, she spins back mid-run and screams, don't you dare die, because if you do, I'll never forgive you. Wish watches them vanish, then shouts that now he's alone, he's got this, so he can finally lock in on the dragon and just like that, his special power surges to life and spots the crack in the armor. He digs in and holds his ground as the system flashes the weakness ahead, so he clenches his teeth, locks in, and realizes for a monster this massive, he only gets one shot to land the perfect hit. Turns out it was right there on the beast's leg the whole time. Wish clocks it instantly. This monster's front left leg is the only chink in its armor, so he tests his power and pushes it to the limit, staring down exactly how far it can carry him. That massive dragon bellows a bone-chilling roar and snaps its jaws shut. His eyes flare to life, and suddenly he can track every single move Fornies makes, because the power is finally working. And even with the dragon towering over him like a living mountain, he's still scrambling to figure out how he can keep this pace, especially because he's about to. He starts realizing that instead of going toe-to-toe, his safest move is to dodge every single attack. The beast slams its massive claw down hard enough to crack the earth, and Wish barely throws himself out of the way in time. He just stands there, gasping for breath, pounding his chest, and telling himself over and over that he can actually do this. He locks eyes with the beast, spots its only remaining weakness, the front left leg, and vows that if he nails just one strike right there, the fight ends. Then boom, the dragon's head rockets forward out of nowhere, and he can barely choke out a single word before he gets shoved into a sprint down the village streets as that monster's massive body crashes through the houses right on his heels. A rampaging dragon is smashing the village to the ground, and the locals are scrambling just to survive and escape. One of the girls blurts was that the dragon's roar, then screams for a wish. The wish is jammed right in the center of the record, hovering low as the whole room choked on dust and smoke. He keeps telling himself one perfect strike on that weak spot is all he needs, but getting there won't be anywhere near easy, not by a long, because that beast is looming right over him, and it makes this whole fight feel totally impossible. He starts to crumble, thinking there's no way they can beat an opponent this absurd, until footsteps thud hard into the ground as a voice roars, "Not a chance, you're not taking the dragon's way." Lilium towers before Wish, swearing he's not dying on her watch, while Milfina blasts out a thunderous shout to back her up. Wish can barely wrap his mind around what he's seeing, and he blurts out their names as they step up and shield him. Lilium snaps into a fighting stance and warns the dragon to brace itself, because the next hit is coming fast. Lilium thrusts a finger at the colossal beast and screams that they're about to smash it with their finishing punch. But Wish is still panicking in the background, clawing at ideas, desperate to find a way out and stay alive. He grips his sword and keeps it there, mind sprinting as he panics over his next move, because right when it seems like he's got an answer, the story just won't stop. The giant dragon plants itself in place and unleashes a roaring blast that shakes the whole area to its core. Lilium and Milfina dug in and refused to back down as a deep voice boomed, saying it had been ages since anyone last fought with real backbone. Then the dragon locks eyes with them, grins, and declares the fight was pure fun, before calling them out as humans. The entire crew goes dead silent in pure shock, because they can't wrap their minds around the monster actually talking to them. The beast straight up tells them, "Yeah, I can talk," because it's on a whole other tier than any monster they've ever laid eyes on. Lilium's not scared at all anymore, rage floods her, and she jabs her finger at the dragon as she roars at it too. Milfina stood right beside her, and he demanded to know how anyone dared to try and kill Wish like that. The dragon looms over them and asks, "So, you're still freaking out about that roar from just a moment ago?" He was basically saying, "No, that wasn't some big speech. It was my way of saying thanks for giving me such a ruthless fight." Milfina snaps completely and demands to know what kind of thank you could have nearly turned her into a pile of ash. But the dragon casually slips in that it missed her on purpose for that exact reason, and she's left totally stunned. No words at all. It literally apologizes for dragging the whole group into all this chaos. And honestly, that's a weird vibe to get from a giant monster. And then it hits you, he wasn't even hunting them at all. He was just tearing after some other guys. Wishes snaps to attention, blurts out if the dragon is talking about Logan and his crew, and the dragon's eyes pinch shut with fury as it roars, calling them bastards for torching the forest where it lives. Turns out Logan wasn't going full serious. He was just messing around, flexing a brand new skill while his friends went crazy hyping him up, which sent the dragon into a full-blown rage, because they vanished without even lifting a finger to put the fire out. Logan completely snaps, sweat pours as he finally sees the real, petty reason that dragon is hunting him. The dragon barrels in and roars about how the heat makes him want to scream, while Logan crumples in the dirt, pleading for mercy like his life depends on it. Wish watches the whole disaster unfold and finally locks in on what's going on, ridiculous or not. Then he can't stop thinking about the sea of trees, because everyone said it had a barrier that traps people inside for good. The dragon stares them down and growls, "How the heck did you get out?" And it's crystal clear it never broke a single bit of that seal, not 1 millimeter. Milfinus blurts out, shaking with nerves, and confesses she actually shut the barrier off for a moment when they were getting ready to leave. She tells them the dragon most likely slipped out after them through that gap, then lets them know, no joke, she's a goddess and she can pull off stuff like that. She's drowning in guilt over the whole dragon-chasing mess, so she drops her head and blurts out to everyone, I'm really sorry. Wish shrugs it off and admits he's honestly just relieved now that he finally knows what really threw everything off. Milfuna smiles again in an instant as the village guards grab Logan, tie him up, and haul him away, while he rips into the air screaming he hates his life. He scans the village and sees buildings smashed to pieces, but the best news hits hard: no one actually died. Wish stands there grinning like crazy, soaking up the sheer luck of still being intact after everything that just shattered him. That elf girl is not taking it lightly. She crosses her arms, scoffs, and grumbles that she truly thought she was a goner. Wish tries to stay positive and swears it's all finally over, until he hears someone start to panic and the words cut off mid-scream. Mayor Zebman erupts into a soul-crushing scream of despair, and it whips Wish completely off guard. Villagers start swarming in and one man jabs a finger toward the wreckage while Milfina just stands there, utterly lost and confused about the whole situation. Then the vibe flips hard, everyone suddenly sees it. This isn't just bad, it's getting really grim fast. Wish rushes up and asks the mayor if he's alright, but the old man just stays on his knees in the dirt, locked in a blank stare at the splintered wood. The mayor blurts out that the dragon crushed the village storehouse, and right as he says it, Wish's gut starts screaming trouble. The mayor screams that every last bite of food is gone, and Wish and Milfinus erupt into absolute mind-blown shock, screaming at the top of their lungs. Milfinus starts spiraling into panic and blurts out, "Can't we just run off and beg the other nearby villages for help?" But the mayor shuts it down on the spot, saying they usually swap for everything. Only this time, they've got absolutely nothing left to give. Milfina is completely frozen for words as Wish finally grasps just how truly bad things have gotten for everyone. Wish whips around to the dragon and demands what happens next, but the massive lizard only grunts, like that's all it wants to say. So she finally pitches the idea. Screw waiting, let's hit her forest and gorge ourselves because it's loaded with meat and fruit. Mayor Zebman's face crumples with relief as he begs her to confirm she's truly okay with them doing that. Wish rubs the back of his head and tells him, "Yeah, I'm in. Since I'm already tangled up in this mess, I'll help." Every villager in the crowd erupts into jumping and cheering like they just hit the jackpot. Milfina finally lets out a breath thinking maybe they'll actually make it asterisk, and Wish just cracks a tired little laugh. But then Wish snaps back, "Wait, this forest isn't safe at all," and panics that they could run into another giant bear again. Wish can't stop replaying that terrifying bear in his head, and yeah, he finally sees the point. They're tearing right back into the forest of memories, like the past is calling them louder than ever. Deep in the woods, a girl is sprinting for her life, lungs burning and breath coming in ragged bursts. She clutched a basket of berries, staring around like, "Why can't I find my way out?" She crumples into tears, sobbing that someone needs to help her as the pack of wolves presses in. Then wham, the dragon crashes into the clearing and blurts that they've finally arrived. He thanks the dragon for saving his life, and the huge lizard just shrugs like it's nothing. Lilium tilted her head at the colossal trees and blurted out that she never in a million years thought she'd return to this place. She froze, staring at her hand like it didn't belong to her, and a strange feeling just wouldn't let her ignore it. Wish notices her fading off mid-sentence and demands to know what's wrong, but she's clearly miles away in her own head. Lilium senses something off in the forest, then a huge wave of power crashes back into her body, surging through her like a storm. She freezes mid-step like something electric is surging up from her bones, and it's only getting stronger which makes Wish stare at her like she's lost her mind, because he feels absolutely nothing at all. But then Wish spots something up ahead, snaps to attention and bolts out a shocked yell when he spots that girl from earlier. She's trapped in a tiny clearing, surrounded and closing in by a pack of hungry wolves. Wish rockets toward the fight, yelling that those monsters are about to absolutely wreck someone, but the wolves snap into action at once, lunging from both sides to drive him away from the girl. He yanks his blade free and growls under his breath, panic hitting him hard. He's outnumbered, they're trapped, and it's about to get brutal until that little. Lilium suddenly rockets past him straight for the wolves, shouting that she's taking the lead. She flicks a confident smirk over her shoulder and dares him to stay locked in, because she's about to show him exactly what she can do. Lilium blasts her magic to life, screams for an ice bullet strike, and a barrage of razor-sharp shards of ice rockets into the wolves, slamming them backward. Wish and Milfina just froze on the spot, staring in silence as everything unfolded right before their eyes. Which snaps him clean and makes him scream that Lilium is using magic while she just smirks, shrugs it off, and acts like it's nothing at all. She whips around with a massive grin and asks him, "Am I seriously the most amazing person you've ever seen?" She soaked up the attention as she poured out her feelings, and when mana surged through her whole body, confidence hit her like a lightning strike, like she could actually do this. She was still reeling, stuck on one burning question. Why was this happening so fast when she'd been completely powerless just minutes ago? That's when the dragon finally talks back. He's already seen this coming because right now they're buried deep in the sea of trees. Wish glares up at the gigantic creature with a blank, stunned face and demands, "What are you even talking about?" The dragon warns them this forest is packed with monopools, and the closer they creep to the center, the stronger that energy gets. He asks if they've been here before, then slams the point home. Last time they could only have been loitering right at the wood's edge. The dragon keeps laying it out, roaring that if they'd stayed right on the edge of the forest, those mana pools wouldn't have helped her at all. So even with Lilium squeezing out a little magic, the wolf up ahead still won't fold. It's planted in place, growling like it's ready to fight. Turns out her attack barely even left a scratch, and as the predator closes in, Milfina snaps, and the whole situation feels like it's going to explode. The young forest girl stays pinned to the ground, sobbing for someone to rescue her, and Wish scrambles to figure out how to jump in and save the day. Wish snaps to reality that time's slipping away, screams that everything's going downhill, because the girl is seconds from getting caught, and then the dragon finally snaps, steps in, locks eyes with the beasts and growls for them to get lost. One single command and the wolves get blasted backward like they slammed into a wall, yelping as they get hurled straight into the brush. Then finally, clearing the area so the dragon can puff out a smug "that was easy," while Wish barrels over to the girl and demands to know if she's hurt. She cranes her head up, voice trembling, insists she's fine, then locks eyes with them, those huge wide eyes blazing, and pours out a grateful thanks for pulling her out of the pack. Just as her breathing finally steadies, she thanks them again for the help, then lets it slip that she's not far at all. She actually lives nearby in Zakin village. The young girl steps forward, points at herself, and tells the group, "My name is Noah Orib," and with Wish awkwardly blurts, "What are you doing out here all alone?" Like he can't believe she's standing by herself. But she swears she was just sent out to gather berries for her village. Then somehow she took a wrong turn and got completely lost. Wish starts laying out her story, but Noah's locked in on getting Zack and the village taken care of. So Wish has to finally come clean. He's sweating bullets as he admits it. He's the one who ruined the village's food supply. He lays out how the food got ripped clean out of the way, and Noah finally clicks, putting together the real reason they're out here. Wish tells her they're hunting for more food to make up for it, so Noah is left staring, absolutely stunned by the news. She whips her gaze across the woods and snaps that grabbing random stuff from the forest won't cut it, because since they lost a super special storage unit, it basically became an ice house, locking everything in freshness for ages. Now that it's gone, she can't stop worrying. How are they ever supposed to scrape up enough food to feed the whole village? In this world, global warming is hammering everything with brutal heat. Food spoils almost the second it's made. Milfina stares, dead serious, and demands to know what happens to you if you chomp down on food that's already gone bad. Nowhere doesn't warn you it'll slam their stomach and unleash real pain, because Wish makes it crystal clear. He doesn't want to be stuck in agony so the dragon snaps up and asks, "Do we really need to stress about storage?" Then he grins and says they should just hunt down every single meal. But William isn't buying that plan. She basically admits that having to go hunting just to eat sounds like the biggest drag imaginable. Wish takes a beat, then swallows hard, realizing the food mess is way worse than he ever imagined. He flashes back to his old life and jokes that all they really need is a fridge. Then the thought hits him, maybe it's possible, and he cuts himself off. And Noah's totally lost. He keeps stumbling over that weird word refrigerator, all while looking absolutely baffled. Milfina bursts in, grabs everyone's attention, and spills the whole idea. It's a tool that keeps everything inside cool even when the outside sky is scorching. Nobody in this world even blinks, because Milfuna just sells it like a miracle. a special box powered by electricity that keeps everything fresh. The group just stares, totally blank-faced, while Wish scrambles to explain how electricity works, like it's pure magic they can't even wrap their heads around. Wish starts sweating as he scrambles to explain it in plain words, saying a fridge is basically an ice house that doesn't need ice. It finally clicks for Lilium. She's like, that kind of tool sounds perfect for travel. Noah's shoulders slump as she tells everyone straight up that getting something like that to work in this world is basically a dead end. Lilium can't stop wondering if this refrigerator thing is actually some kind of top-tier demon realm magic tool, but Milfina cuts in right away, smirking that it's not some random thing at all. It's a specialized tool used by a reincarnator. And that's when Milfina snatches Noah by the collar, strides up to the whole group and blurts out that she's a reincarnator too, while Noah is left completely stunned, barely able to even process it. Noah freezes dead in his tracks as Milfina reveals the truth. She can smell it because Noah carries the exact same god scent her father once had. The news slams into Wish and Lilium like a wrecking ball. Both just freeze, mouths wide, trying to process what they're hearing. Noah looks totally exposed, like her biggest secret just got ripped wide open, and the whole vibe of the group instantly flips. Lilium just stands there trying to process the news, while Noah leans in and asks if they're really serious about her being a reincarnator's. Wish goes wide-eyed and starts sweating as Milfina begins laying out the explanation for what's going on in this world. Reincarnators are famous for crafting wild weapons like the Volvarn, and it makes everyone think they're nothing but terrifying monsters. Nobody even clocks the tension building in them. Then someone blurts, "It's fine, don't stress," but they look absolutely terrible. She stammers when she finally admits it's true, she's from another world, but the truth hits hard. She's nothing more than a powerless nobody, who doesn't have any of those reincarnator, cheat, powers or magic everyone boasts about, and then, because she was basically dead weight to them. Those who dragged her into this world just ditched her on the street like trash. And he ditched her to drift around like a lost beggar until she finally stumbled into Zakin village. Wish's jaw dropped as he pictured every brutal nightmare she had to endure, fighting tooth and nail just to stay alive. I felt genuinely awful for the kid after hearing about that gut-wrenching, lonely past he never deserved. Wish leans in, looks Noah straight in the eyes, and tells him she can see the pain she's been through lately. But Lilium cuts in on the spot, tells them to park all that complicated stuff for a minute, and then she starts. Noah keeps playing with Wish's hair as he asks, "So, is it time to talk about the refrigerator?" Noah nods. The Wish fires a question at Noah, "Can you explain it all?" And before he can even answer, she's all in to help while she snaps into a serious stare, then kicks things off by repeating exactly what she said earlier. She explains that in her world, a refrigerator is basically a lifesaver tool, powered by this thing called electricity. But it's a tool ripped from a totally different world, so it won't work here at all. Lilium can't stop replaying it in her head, while Wish starts asking herself if there's got to be another way. Noah. He stares them down and snaps, "Do you really need to build an entire refrigerator from scratch? The real mission is simple, keep it cool," and Wish snaps to what she's saying right away. Lilium lifts a shard of ice and snaps, "We don't need to overthink this, we can just use magic." Then she grins and says her ice magic is the perfect fix for her. She tries to brush it off like the job's done, but then doubts crash in, and she explains that water mana is running dangerously low thanks to global warming. Wish looks gutted by the news, right up until So the big dragon guy finally speaks up and insists it's totally not a problem at all, while Wish just stands there completely baffled, and the dragon leans in and growls, asking if they really forgot about that giant monopool he mentioned earlier buried deep in the forest. Explaining that it's a magic essence pool, so there's basically an entire mountain of power just waiting to be tapped. And Lilium is absolutely stunned by what she stands there with the crew in a clearing lit by drifting lights, eyes wide, completely blown away that all this water magic essence is just floating around like it belongs here. And then she realizes the mana here is buzzing way harder than normal, packed with wild energy, and she can feel it. And she beams, looking all around like, "I've never been somewhere this comfortable before." So the dragon leans in and fires a serious question, Does she think she can use all that extra mana to forge ice that never ever melts? And William locks in a determined gaze, gives herself a pump of courage, and declares she can absolutely do it. Lilium's buzzing with hype like never before, fists clenched tight as she dares everyone to bring it. But just stood there frozen, staring up at the dragon, totally clueless, and blurted, "Wait, what are you even doing?" The dragon tells her that she's locking in her focus and stacking every last drop of mana, saying that casting this much magic demands brutal concentration. Then it knocks the wind right out of Wish. Wish mumbles the words back under his breath, stunned by how insanely powerful this magic is about to be. And right then the whole area flips, bam! A massive shockwave slams into the group, yanking every single one of them into surprise, leaving Wish wobbling on his feet as he scrambles to make sense of the chaos unfolding in front of him. A massive spiraling vortex of energy erupts skyward right in front of them, blasting the air, and the pressure slams down so hard that Wish can barely draw breath. He grunts as the wind rips past, terrified it'll blow him clean off the map. As he locks eyes on the light, he can't help but wonder, could this finally be what Lilium can do when she stops holding back? Lilium stared at her hands, a calm smile tugging at her lips, and whispered that she hadn't felt this alive in forever, because power was roaring through her body. Lilium snaps into position, grips ready, and tells the crew, "All right, this is it. Time to show you what I've got." A wild surge of power explodes outward, and a colossal wave of ice magic slams through the area, remaking everything in its path. Wish gets slammed out of nowhere by the sudden force, and Lilium is just grinning, practically buzzing because she nailed her move. She snaps into a pose with a tiny ice flower perched on her head, then declares her special ice magic is finally, officially complete. Lilium fires off, "Isn't it insane how amazing I am?" But Wish just stands there dead still, silently judging her for that lame name. Wish stares at the results, and you can hear the shock in every word. He never imagined her power could be this insane. Her stats scream it. She's level 100, packed with absurd magic points, so she's not just beyond 4 knees, she's on a whole different planet. The dragon glares at her from the sidelines and snarls to Wish that she's a straight-up monster. The dragon claims she used to be a big-time executive in the Demon Lord's army, but Wish shoots back that she's way bigger than that, because she's just toying around in the background. The dragon stares him down and asks if he said something, but Wish just waves it off like it's nothing. No big deal, nothing important. When it all comes back around, Wish leans in and says the guy was on a whole different level, and admits he can't stop being shocked by the whole thing. The dragon goes silent for a beat, then finally blurts out, "Does Wish really have the guts? Because is he scared of that woman at all?" He just thinks it over for a second, then admits her power totally caught him off guard. Like, if someone asked whether he was scared, he'd probably pause for a beat, but then he clears it up. His fear is aimed at her magic, not at her as a person. Right there, Lilium's shivering and whining that it's freezing, and Wish shoots back that she doesn't look all that terrifying right now, Lilium bursts into crying, yelling for Wish to wait up, then Wish snaps back asking if Lilium's really that cold, right as it all spirals into the next moment. The dragon has been watching everything unfold, and then he leans in and tells Wish, "I don't hate that part of me, not really." The elf girl shrieks in joy that the magic ice is finally ready, and Wish bursts with hype, telling everyone, "We're finishing the fridge right now." Everyone erupts into cheers, and right after that moment they all start pudding. Everyone huddled close, cracked their knuckles, and finally got to work building that refrigerator. Wish explains they carve it from special wood pulled from the sea of trees because it traps the cold so perfectly. And then the cut. And then he pounded treated boards into place, even blasting water magicules to seal every crack and keep the cold air from slipping out, while Lilium keeps firing off her magic, the whole project suddenly surges ahead at breakneck speed, until the story cuts off right as it gets good. The whole crew finally steps back and erupts in cheers, because that new building is officially done and ready to go. Ready to move, then Wish blares out to the villagers, yanking their attention in an instant, and then he jabs his finger toward the open door and shouts that everyone has to come over right now and see what's there. He's grinning ear to ear as he tells them, "This is the brand new food store right in our village." The crew proudly reveals the inside, stuffed to the brim with supplies and shining ice, just like Wish calls it, a full-on refrigerator. A villager guy is standing there with his mouth hanging open, ice flower or not, it won't melt even when he touches it. Noah can finally breathe. He's stoked to escape the heat, grinning as he says the inside feels icy even with the sun blasting outside. One of the village guys yells that they can finally stop worrying about food, right when even the mayor starts to believe it. He chokes up, bows deep like it means everything, and tells him how grateful everyone is for his help. Then he says but since the whole village is safe thanks to them, everyone's packed together, grinning like crazy. Then *Z. Zebman starts tearing up for real as he thanks them one more time, so overwhelmed he's about to break off mid-sentence. He shoots out and grabs Wish's hand and Lilium just brushes it off like it's nothing. Wish looks totally overwhelmed. But later, the whole crew finally crashes into a shared break and Lilia lights up. She can't stop smiling at how happy everyone is. But Wish tries to brush it off, insisting he didn't do anything special. Then Lilium snaps back the second she catches it, straight up asking him, "Wait, what is he even talking about?" She just calls him out and tells him to his face that they're the reason those people smiled in the first place. And it's actually a solid move. Wish finally grins and then Milfina slips in right beside him and blares, "We built something incredible together." Milfina slides closer, pulls at his attention and asks Wish if he's caught what she noticed. Her eyes are practically screaming, "I think you see it too." Lilium drops a huge idea, then sweeps right into how the refrigerator they just set up works, while Wish and Milfina stare at In the storage room, Milfina drops a bombshell. She says this could change the whole world. Lilium just glares at the machine as Wish keeps shouting that it can reshape the world. Then he stares and his eyes say it all. She's completely baffled, staring at the situation like, "Wait, what am I even talking about?" So Milfina leans in and starts spilling her thought process to him, laying out the core of this fridge is powered by magical ice that never melts, and Wish just nods like, "Yep, that's exactly how it works." Milfina lights up with excitement and tells him to picture this technology spreading across the entire world. Wish pauses for one beat, staring at the idea like it's bigger than the whole world. Then Milfina breaks it down. How many people can finally keep their food fresh for ages? Milfina shrugs and says, "I figured that's just how it is," and Wish jumps right in like, "Yep, you nailed it." But then he slams to a stop, tells her to wait, and boom, like a light bulb just popped. He starts spiraling over how food delivery really works. He knows keeping everything fresh means shelling out a fortune for icy refrigeration. And that's what makes the prices go off the rails, so only the rich can actually afford to eat like they mean it. But with this refrigerator, the entire cost of running the place plummets, so that means anyone could keep their food fresh and shuffle it around for way less cash than before. I hope Imogen sparks a total sales revolution, because she's already seeing how these machines are about to flip everyone's lives upside down. Milfona leans in with a huge grin and asks, "Tell me I'm right," reminding him she warned him this exact thing would happen. Wish shoots her a look and it all clicks into place. He finally explains that yep, he really built something truly incredible. He's fired up, shouting that it's incredible, while Lilium just stands frozen, because she can feel it now. The entire world is about to change. Milfina's eyes light up with the future, and she wonders out loud if things really go that way. So yeah, less food means less stuff going bad and way less ending up in the trash. And she says that once food can cross the entire world, prices will crash hard, like they're about to explode. Leaving Wish freezes completely, stunned into silence as she blurts that even people who work like slaves will finally get to eat until they're full. She points out toward the village and orders him to look, because his fridge already saved this place. Right there, that local guy steps in and tells both of them just how grateful they truly are. A village woman grins and says, "With this new machine, we'll finally eat, no more starving." Everyone around them is grinning like they've already hit the jackpot, convinced their lives are about to get way better from this moment on. The whole crowd is buzzing out of its mind, with people shouting about how insanely cool the tech is and how it's about to change everything for them. Mayor Zebman's voice cracks as he admits to Milfina that Wish and his friends have done so much that they truly don't know how to thank them enough. Wish stares miles into the future, already plotting how his brand new tech will finally light up lives across the entire world. And he bellows that this is exactly what a merchant's job is meant to be. He's blazing with purpose to turn the whole world into a richer, brighter place. And Lilium just grins and nods like, yep, that's the way. Using a refrigerator is totally the right move, as Wish watches his. He realizes that with Milfina and Noah standing beside him, nothing can block his goals, and his energy explodes like a firecracker. He flashes a huge thumbs up and right as the crowd erupts, officially kicks off his massive refrigerator distribution plan. Everyone's yelling in sync, finally forcing things to move later that night, inside a nearby city where the streets are eerily quiet but the tall buildings still loom under the stars. But once you step into the local tavern, the mood instantly turns sour. A lone guy sits at a table, dead still, eyes locked on his drink in brutal silence, like the world just crashed down on him. Logan takes a brutal gulp, lets out a filthy curse and can't stop thinking, what the hell happened to that village and how did everything get this messed up? He replays the moment he spotted that tiny opening and somehow slipped out with his life, still rattled to the core. Logan's mind won't stop spinning after that terrifying dragon. He's sure no normal human could ever tame something like that. He snaps in the middle of the tavern, hurling furious screams about how much he hates the merchant named Wish while he slams his drink down with everything he's got, then erupts in a shout, saying the whole situation has him fuming. Logan sits there drenched in sweat and looking absolutely wrecked, completely unaware that a hooded guy across the room is staring him down. The guy at the back of the bar storms over and asks Logan if he's really still alive, and it throws him completely off guard because the stranger just can't stop himself. He's begging to hear the rest of the wild story Logan's been screaming, and he leans in even closer like he's about. And Logan starts to spot the face hiding under the hood. His eyes snap wide, and the words barely come out as the guy finally reveals who he is. The guy yanks his hood back and boom, reveals he's the legendary hero himself. Logan's jaw drops as he finally locks eyes with Ravan, the same dude everyone swears is a top-tier legend. Logan blurts out a nervous laugh, gaping at Ravan as he swears he never, not in a million years, expected to find the hero chilling in a spot like this. Ravan lounges at the bar like nothing can touch him, then flashes the barkeep a grin and orders, "Get me a drink." Logan starts mulling things over and then it hits him. Way too much time has passed since he last heard so much as a whisper about the hero's party. He leans in and asks Ravan straight up, "Are you and the crew really here in town for a quest, or is this business for something else entirely?" Ravan takes a sip of his drink, eyeing the strange quiet over the party lately when, out in the back of the building, someone starts yelling that a certain person has no money. It cuts to a flashback. Garius completely snaps, raging out, demanding answers about what's happening and who drained every last one of their supplies. One of the guys just shrugs and laughs, tossing out, "So that's why we're out of stuff. Because you guys blew it all gorging on bullbear meat and chugging expensive liquor." He's standing there, grinning like he owns the place, casually praising the food and drinks like it's the most normal thing in the world. Garius isn't taking any of it. He starts yelling at them, demanding to know why they're out of potions when they nearly died out there. Mage Pal scrambles to dodge blame, claiming Wish is the one who deals with all the items, while Sage Knoll snaps at the guys to stop venting their rage on her. Ravan rips his mug down onto the table and shuts everyone up, then leans in and demands Logan lay out everything he knows about Zack and the village. Ravan snaps his eyes shut like it all finally clicks, then looks at Logan and swears he understands every single thing perfectly. He decides to leave right then, and Logan just watches him go, smirking as he says he'll go pay those people a visit himself. Ravan's eyes sharpen with an unsettling chill as he growls that he can't wait to see Wish again. Back at the inn, a scream erupts from inside one of the rooms. Then the shouting kicks into overdrive. Garius is losing his mind right in front of Mage Pal, pounding the truth with his huge sword, only for it to be completely chipped. Ravan's just strolling down the hallway, snapping back that he has zero clue how he's even supposed to know anything about their gear. He clutches his head like a storm's about to hit, groaning that now he's stuck worrying about weapon maintenance on top of everything else. Things are crumbling fast. When he snaps that he's sick of all this chaos, he points straight at the loans and the penalty fees because they're chewing them up alive. Garius is completely at the edge, roaring at everyone to quit fooling around and finally get serious. He turns to Mage Pal and asks if she's in, while Sage Noel just stands there begging them to cut it out before everything spirals even worse. Now that the wish is gone, the party's vibe crashes hard, everything's just falling apart. Ravan's miserable, and he knows it's all because of that guy Noel looks like. She snaps the second it hits, her wish doesn't even finish, and he's already gone without wrapping up his work. Slipped out of the group, then Ravan grabbed his head, screaming that Wish was an incompetent bastard, dragging them under, so he slams the decision down and forces them to find a. Garius spots a new merchant on the spot, and before the deal even starts, his temper ignites and he starts snapping. Yanking his attention and screaming for him to stop fooling around, she demanded to know if he was. Turns out he's just a merchant, and the poor guy is terrified out of his mind, trembling as he tries to. Sorry, I'd love to explain, but this workload is absolutely brutal. Between hauling all the gear and getting everything ready, I'm drowning. Even while they're ready and working with the guild, they still have to juggle the money, chart every dungeon, and dig up intel on everything, because they can't move until they've got it all. This new merchant is straight up unraveling. He's sobbing like, I can't do this, there's no way. It's too heavy, too fast, too much for one person, so 11 lunges right into his space and starts jawing, mocking him for running that mouth when he's terrible at his job. He even brings up how Wish, yeah, the one he calls a total piece of baggage, used to deal with all this stuff with zero trouble, and which makes the new guy lose it even harder. He's literally trembling and screaming as the pressure crushes him. Later on, sweat starts pouring down Levin's face as everything spirals out of control, and he can't make sense of why their plans keep collapsing when they should be working. He pumps himself up by reminding himself he's the hero, but he can't shake the truth. Everything's still a wreck because that one guy is gone. Then a shadowy look snaps across his face and the answer clicks. He's letting Wish back into the party for now. He figures that once Wish stops being useful, he'll toss him aside again, because in his mind, Wish has zero real talent, and meanwhile, 11 is fully convinced that Wishes should feel honored, because he's only here to help someone as important as him. Garius and Pal finally reach their destination, but the trip has left them absolutely drained, like they're running on fumes. Garius roars at the top of his lungs that they've finally stumbled into the village where Wish is hiding, then makes it painfully clear he hates every second of it. Howell whips his head around and rips into the neighborhood, saying the houses look like they're rotting in some dumpy frontier town, and Noel shoots back, totally agreeing, calling the whole place disgusting. Pal halts mid-step and tilts their head, curiosity sparking, asking for every detail on what their old teammate has been doing lately. She says this random dude Levin talked to swears his real time was wasted on building this bizarre magic tool, a refrigerator, and to her, that whole obsession just sounds pointless. Then Pal blurts out, will he even come back to the party on his own? And it instantly has Garius looking totally lost, like, seriously, the answer should be painfully obvious. Garius flashes a cocky grin and tells him he's doing him a massive favor just by riding all this way to see him. As they start climbing the hill, Garius won't stop playing tough. He keeps telling Wish she should be bawling tears of joy that they're actually showing up to drag him out. Then Pal's gaze snaps to something weird and her eyes lock onto a nearby building. She's like, wait, what am I looking at? This feels off. Meanwhile, Wish is already deep in work, grunting as he hauls a massive wooden crate packed with scrolls and tools. Like this is just another normal day until he suddenly freezes in his tracks, eyes wide in pure disbelief, and whispers, what the heck am I looking at? Wish spots a shop sign, slams on the brakes, and realizes he's staring at the magic tool everyone's been obsessing over. And he blurts out what he's even supposed to do with it. Then his sentence dies in his throat when something completely different catches his eye. He spots Hero 11 standing right there with the crew, calls out his name, and just freezes in pure disbelief, like his whole world tilted. Noah and him start to panic as Wish demands, why would the heroes' party ever step into a place like this? Levin tells them everything's different since they kicked him out, and then he drops the bomb. His wish is actually useful now, and that makes Levin doesn't just talk, he drops the words, I'm giving you another shot, and the moment hits with pure, total disbelief, like the word chance shouldn't even exist. Levin slaps a hand on Wish's shoulder and drops the big news, he's officially letting him back into the hero's party. then he leans in. He leans in with that smug grin and shoots, "So you coming back?" Like Wish would never dare say no. Wish looks absolutely miserable and on the verge of exploding, so he shoots Levin a simple no, and 11 doesn't even hear him. She just shuts him down and shouts that they've got to save the world, tossing out "let bygones be bygones" like it's as simple as flipping a switch. Levin leans in and blurts out that the hero's party actually needs his power asterisk, but Wish just stands there, frozen. They look completely swamped, then finally speak up, turning him down, saying they're glad they asked, but he can't accept. He tells everyone how the people in this village have been treating him like gold lately, and right now, it feels like every single soul here is. It matters to him more than anything, because for the first time in his life he's actually managed to make real friends. Wish scrambles to finish, insisting they're all good people, but Levin barrels right in with a quick, fake laugh and shuts him down. The vibe flips the second Levin bursts into quiet laughter and Wish panics so hard he blurts, "What's going on?" But then he just trails off like he can't finish the question. But Levin shoots him a nasty look and snaps that he's already heard everything about what Wish has been up to. Wish is totally blindsided when Levin starts mocking him for basically messing around with magic tools, and Levin just keeps talking, totally stunned that a former Heroes Party member would sink this low. Like, seriously, how is that even possible? Acting like it's pathetic that he's out here in the middle of nowhere, scratching out arts and crafts like that's somehow worth wishing over. Levin lets out a heavy sigh and admits this whole conversation is turning into way too much trouble, so he flicks his eyes to the building and brings up that tiny toy Wish he's been cooking up in the background for a while now. He's like, just smash it to bits, then maybe Wish will finally start listening. Which has Wish staring in pure terror as he blurts out Levin's name, but Levin shoots him a warning, "Don't lose your cool," as he rips his hand toward his weapon and, with a nasty grin, he leans in and says, "Wish should feel honored, because now there's nothing left to stop him." So yeah, he has no choice anymore. He'll be forced to drag himself back to work for the Heroes Party just like he's been told. Levin wastes zero time and unleashes one of his top-tier sword techniques. The ground erupts in a violent shockwave as Levin swings his blade with pure, insane power. Wish groaned when the shockwave slammed into him, but the moment it hit, recognition sparked. He'd seen this exact technique before. Wish's eyes snap wide the moment he realizes something's off. He tries to convince himself it's different, but the attack hits with a power way bigger than anything he ever imagined. He can't even get his thought out before it crashes into him. As the entire area gets devoured in a roaring blast of energy and choking dust, and the others can only stare. Levin just stares at the wreck, then snaps at Wish like a complete idiot for actually trying to block it. He figures, I'm dragging this guy back anyway, so he might as well start right now before it all spirals. Finish it the right way, he points out where she's going, and he makes the party's rules claw themselves back into him for good. Wish is curled in a hunched ball, fighting to gasp for air as smoke swallowed everything around him. Garius bursts into laughter from the sidelines like, "This is exactly the kind of power I expected from Levin." And Noel and Powell just grin with smug faces and Noel goes, "This is exactly what happens when you mess with us." Levin just smirks at the wreckage like he's daring the universe to blink first, then immediately wonders if that last hit pushed him a bit too far. Levin glances down and shrugs like, "It's fine." Even if it's a pain, then he decides to haul the Wish back to the capital just like that. Wish suddenly shoots up, gulping air, and Levin totally snaps. He can't process what he's seeing as he rips into Wish, screaming at him, demanding to know how that guy is still standing after a hit like that. Wish wipes the sweat off his face and admits it, he barely made it, that was too close. Then his thoughts spiral back to right at the very last second, he slammed into motion because survival was the only move left against the blast. He's relieved he stomped the flames out before it was too late, but yeah, things still look bad. Because his hands are trembling and totally numb, he finally gets it. Levin's power is on a whole other level compared to someone like Logan. And it's looking more and more like this is the moment everything goes bad for him, real bad. Refusing to back down, it looks like Wish surviving just fueled Levin's rage even hotter for the fight ahead. Levin roars and swings with everything he's got, smashing a massive rock to bits right in front of Wish. Levin snapped his tongue and clocked it. Those words were meant for his head all along, and he couldn't believe the kid is. Levin gets shoved hard, he skids across the dirt, fighting to keep his feet under him. Wish stays blazing on the offensive. He surges forward so fast he turns into a blur, and it's obvious that why. Wish is getting crushed by the pressure. He growls through the pain and yells at Levin to just stop. But he's got no choice. He keeps swinging, throwing every ounce of his weight into a brutal counterattack, and back at the party, Pal's completely lost. She's even wondering if this whole thing is real while Gary just stands there drenched in sweat. Then he snaps, yelling that this can't possibly be happening. He's staring as a no-name luggage carrier squares up against the legendary hero. This is total chaos, and he just can't wrap his head around how Wish, of all people, is actually keeping up. The two of them look dead even, so 11 unleashes a ferocious roar and slams in another massive strike, refusing to drag this battle any longer. Levin's sweating buckets as he snaps under his breath, slamming the truth into a wall hard, then trailing off. He couldn't believe a single attack would land, so he kept snapping his own questions in the dark, wondering how this kid was dodging everything like it was nothing. He fires a reminder in his head. A wish is only meant to be a merchant, so why in the world can't he make sense of why they? He glances around and then it hits him. Wish is trembling hard, and whatever's happening is going to explode right in front of them. It drives him out of his mind. He can't even fathom getting pushed to the absolute limit by some random guy. He tells Wish to back off because his temper is finally starting to boil over. Boiling with rage, he snaps that he won't swallow this kind of humiliation because he's meant to be the hero. And there's no way he should be afraid of some common luggage carrier, so he refuses to accept. He forced himself to take it all in, then screamed at the top of his lungs while as he snaps back into position, he's ready to go berserk, tear everything apart and snatch the win. Levin throws his whole heart into the next move, convinced his massive skills will reach farther than anything. Wish has zero chance to escape. When the hit attack surges through the area, it sweeps everything up like a storm while Garia screams at him to stop, and Noel's face goes pale as he panics. Wait, are you really trying to kill Wish? But Wish doesn't budge. He realizes dodging is impossible since the attack blankets everything, and that's when he gulps in a deep breath, forces his mind to lock in, and suddenly the world starts to drag, every second stretching as his thoughts take over. He reels back through every past brawl, realizing Levin's quick, but Forney's was playing a whole different, unstoppable speed game. He even remembers Lilium going, "My magic is on a whole other level than this," and you could feel the confidence in her words. Wish is convinced he can square up with anyone, no matter how unstoppable they look, because the second he finds their weak spot, he's already halfway to winning. That logic still hits hard even when he's squaring off against some famous hero. Pressure keeps stacking. Wish finally strikes. He unleashes a secret sword technique of his own, snapping the blast out of its path. Levin unleashes his meteor burst with everything he's got. Boom! The entire area detonates into chaos as Garius hurls a grunt as he forces out a blinding blast, and the girls scramble to shield themselves from the crushing pressure. But in that swirling smoke, the Wish finally collides with the attack head-on. The impact is so deafening it rings through the air, shattering everything in its path and leveling the ground. Levin's face crumples as he snaps, "No way, my blade can't be getting outclassed like this." But Wish isn't finished yet. He uses that momentum to whip around and unleash a brutal follow-up strike, so fast it's unreal, and then everything hits. That the force shatters Levin's grip, his hero's sword rockets into the sky and he's left hanging there. He ends up completely defenseless, and Levin finally realizes it's the centrifugal force that crushed him, yet he still clings to the idea it must be a mistake, because he can't stomach the thought of getting beaten by someone like Wish. Wish locks eyes with him, declares it's over, and 11 screams thunder in his head, telling him this has to be impossible. Then Wish lands the final hit. Levin gets knocked back, wheezing and gasping, barely able to push out a sentence. Just, how and why did this happen? Wish crouches over the fallen hero, points at him, and then drops the bombshell. His legendary weapon is chipped clean through. Levin's clearly been slacking on his upkeep, and Wish clocks it as a massive opening, one he can exploit without breaking a sweat. Wish tells him to just end it right now, because fighting on has become completely pointless. Levin mutters pointless under his breath, and his face contorts with raw, burning rage because he refuses to let Wish talk down to him. Then he snaps straight to his face, "Don't get cocky." Levin screams that Wish can't possibly think he's won after a move like that. And then the ground starts to shudder from the raw power Levin is blasting out, like it's threatening to crack everything. And Wish, clenching his fists, the hero powers up for a gigantic blast, while Levin can't stomach the fact that someone like him is being treated like he's beneath everyone. Roaring at the top of his lungs, he warned him, "Don't even think you're going to give me orders." Wish watches the energy skyrocket, and the second things spiral out of control, he realizes he's in deep, serious trouble. Wish finally realizes there's no escaping the massive blast barreling straight at him. But suddenly, Levin's strike gets totally frozen when ice surges up his arm, trapping him mid-attack. Unable to move, leaving him totally lost. Garius tries to move, but his legs feel glued to the ground. Pal panics as she realizes her magic resistance isn't doing a thing against whatever's smashing them. Levin's frozen in place, trembling. He can't even process it because someone is actually crushing him like this. He had already smashed his way to level 90, so there was no way any magic could seal him now. Just as the dust begins to drift down, a chilling voice snaps across the group. And Lilium suddenly drops right in front of Wish and tells the heroes, "You really crossed the line this time," and you can feel everything tipping. She looked absolutely livid, ready to tear them apart for daring to mess with one of her own. She shoots her hand out, screams at them, and demands to know what the hell they think they're doing. Ice rockets outward, sealing Levin's arm in place, while Lilium stands right in the heart of a raging frost storm. Levin is spiraling, demanding to know who the hell this woman even is, while Wish snaps his gaze upward and clocks her instantly. Everyone's frozen in shock, staring at the person standing right there like, is this really the legendary demon? But Lilium isn't messing around. She makes it crystal clear. Anyone who dares to hurt her people is going to pay big time. She looks completely fed up, tells the heroes' party they've officially crossed the line, and there's no coming back. Then a massive burst of ice magic detonates, shards rip through the air, and the heroes get trapped fast. Garius slams into the ground, utterly frozen in place, because that suffocating pressure is more than his body can take. Levin's body keeps shaking as he blurts out, "What kind of insane, bone-chilling magic is doing this to us?" Pal's blood drains from her face as she realizes this is the Abyss Ice Lilium, the one every story swears is real. And Noel's mind snaps back to the past, and she realizes this demon general is the very same monster who carved up the capital with that brutal attack. Mage Pal is trembling like a leaf, staring at her and blurting, "Wait, are you seriously the strongest lady executive in the Demon Lord's army?" Garius is losing his mind too, screaming that this has to be some kind of sick joke while Eleven glares at Lilium, demanding answers. Why on earth is a total monster like her even allowed to be here? Then he suddenly freezes for a beat. This strange idea hits him out of nowhere, and he snaps, "Hold on, wait." She still remembered that last brutal war. She never even showed her face, just vanished into the chaos, and that's why he fit. Her actual fighting skills, I bet they're nowhere near as impressive as she tries to make them sound. He can't stop wondering if she's nothing but magic, no real talent underneath it at all. Then, dropping her right here should be a total walk in the park. A wicked glare slithers over his face as he decides to smash her first, then savor the pain and make her suffer at a slow, brutal pace. But Lilium just stares at him like he's garbage and snaps, "You reek like a complete loser." Lilium gets slammed by a massive blast, rockets through the air, and gets thrown back as he barrels through the smoke and rubble, teeth clenched, refusing to stop as he fights to keep moving. Garius yells at Levin to be careful, while over on the side, the Wishes lies still on the ground, groaning after that brutal hit to the left. Levin glares at the demon girl and snaps that she reeks of cruelty, like something rotten crawled out of a monster. Lilium shrugs off the insult, her mind snapping back to her days in the Demon Lord's army, where the other leaders treated her like trash. She tilts her head and unleashes pure rage, screaming at everyone to stop treating her like she's nothing, because she's done being underestimated. Then brutal ice spikes slam through the buildings, shattering everything they touch in an instant. She snaps, saying even the thought of those guys makes her blood boil, and Wish watches from the sidelines and realizes she's actually landing her ice magic perfectly this time. He can't stop staring at her and then, bam, he realizes something is seriously off. Wish locks onto the status screen, stunned beyond belief, because the title former Demon King *** is sitting there, staring back at him, and he can't stop himself from reacting. Lilium snaps, clutches her head, and screams the words back in pure, shattered disbelief. Levin roars that she's the Demon King, while Garius just freezes there, dumbfounded, wondering if this is real or some kind of prank. Lilium flashes a sheepish grin and asks if she forgot to mention it, and that's when Wish explodes. He swears he never heard a single word of it, but she just shrugs it off, laughing like it's no big deal, because to her it's all just ancient history. She insists she's having way more fun now, so everyone should stop caring, while Wish is left staring like she just got mentally dragged through exhaustion by her own logic. He lets out a heavy sigh, staring at her stats, because they're through the roof and somehow even higher than before. Lilium couldn't stop bragging about that magical pool that refilled her energy, right up until she started talking. Levin finally snaps. He lunges into the silence and screams at them to get their heads in the game. He looks utterly desperate, yelling that they've hauled themselves all this way just to bring their old friend back home. Levin snaps, fed up to the core, and tells him he wishes there was no place for him here anymore, while Garius just stands there and watches. Lilium bursts into laughter at the idea that they're comrades, then tilts her head and basically challenges Levin like, seriously, are you actually being real right now? Levin snaps back at her, furious, and demands to know what it even matters, like it doesn't matter that they used to be friends. Lilium cuts him off on the spot, telling him he's screwed, because Wish is officially one of them now, and she makes it crystal clear, nobody even invited his crew to show up in the first place. She taunts Levin, smirking, did you already forget what it feels like to get frozen solid? And that's what knocks the fight right out of him. Speechless and trembling, he couldn't move as Wish stood there, watching the entire clash unfold in front of him. Wish finally snaps into action, shouting Levin's name to cut through everything and force him to stop, because this has to end right now. He tells them, if my behavior lately has been messing up the group, then I'm truly sorry, I get it. Then he hits them with a cold, final truth. He's got zero plans to ever return to their party, no matter what they try. Wish tilts his head up to the clouds, eyes blazing with determination as he murmurs that yeah, he finally found exactly what he'd been searching for. As he stands right in the middle of the village with every eye on him, he leans toward Levin and declares, this is where I truly belong. He locks eyes with Levin, unwavering and ruthless, and lets him know, this is going to come back to haunt him because it won't be the one making moves. But Levin is spiraling out of control, sweating, screaming, and swearing he'll be the one to make Wish regret leaving the group. Lilium lunges in to block Levin before he can keep playing tough, but Wish just turns his back on the whole mess and gives up. He flashed them a confident grin and promised that if a fight ever breaks out, he'll gladly step in and be their opponent. He makes it crystal clear he won't be alone, because his brand new comrades are right beside him. The whole scene whips around as a gigantic dragon-like monster rockets into the sky and tears across the air. Then the creature stares down with that massive eye, basically begging, are you sure this is a good idea, letting those guys slip away like nothing happened? Wish just sprawls back in peace, telling the dragon, yeah, you guys can be a pain, but you're still in the hero's party no matter what. Wish tells the group he totally understands why they're freaking out, while Milfina goes full meltdown, pointing at it like she's about to explode. She gaped at that colossal dragon in the sky, mouth hanging wide as she drank in every terrifying second of the view. Noah looks totally rattled, saying it's insane that they were just wandering the woods while all this chaos was exploding around them. But Wish just grins and tells her it's a blessing they weren't caught up in it. He's only relieved that everyone's safe. Milfina snaps, she blares out Wish's name like a command to wake him up, then jabs a finger toward the horizon because she finally spots the road ahead, points at it like it's right there, and hypes everyone up. The destination is staring us in the face. The capital of Astrian finally bursts into view, jaw-dropping massive stone walls and towering castle spires rising into the sky. Right as they near the city buildings, Milfina shoots up into a massive stretch and lets out a satisfied little side ch, cheering like they just nailed the refrigerator deal perfectly, and Wish watches, her smile cracking with pure relief. When he says they even carved out a solid distribution route, everything clicks, so they can finally start selling their goods soon. Milfuna gets all fired up like it's finally time, and Wish just goes along with it. But the mood flips in a split second when a girl lugging a basket careens into a guy and smacks him right on the spot. She goes full chaos, sending fruit flying everywhere, and the panic hits. She blurts apologies as she scrambles to snatch it all back, which snags Wish's attention. He locks eyes with her like he recognizes her, while Noah stands there totally baffled and then Wish starts replaying the old days in his mind, craving that simpler time again. He remembers the exact day he vanished from this city to carve out his own path. He couldn't stop thinking about how, once upon a time, he used to roam these same streets alone, no one beside him. But everything feels different now. He finally realizes he's got loyal, dependable friends standing right beside him. He slams the idea into his own head. Nobody deserves garbage treatment, and there's no one right way to live. So he drops down fast to help the girl gather her fruit, just doing the good thing, no questions asked. She lifts her head from the dirt, frozen in pure shock at the figure standing there, and the words won't even come out until she finally realizes it. It's her wish, and now he's stretching his hand toward her, telling her, if the life she's living or the place she's stuck in right now is just too painful to keep going, then she won't have to hang around. He flashes her a gentle smile and asks, "Want to come with us instead?"